There's a lot of people that will filter the fuck out of their voice, just like they filter their faces. Let's be very clear about that. But just like they filter their faces, they'll filter their voice, and they'll try to add more vibrato and depth to it.
Dude, that reminds me. What was that one woman's name? The one that just got she just got sentenced. She had this big company where they were like testing blood, and it was like all a scam. Like she didn't actually have a product. Oh, I can't remember for the life of me what it was. I'll have to like look it up. You need to get one of those guys that can look stuff up on the Google.
I know. I need a Jamie. He's usually my dog, but he's not very good at looking shit up.
No.
Nah, he just kind of sits there, stares at me, and I'm just like...
It's probably the opposable thumb thing.
I'm like, whatever, man. I just go back to taking a nap. It's cool.
They're useless, but they're so cute.
Oh, they're amazing. They're amazing. Like I was saying, you just see shedding everywhere, and I just haven't had the time to get the Dyson in here, which Dyson... I'm not thrilled with my vacuum. I got to be honest with you. All this hype about, no loss of suction and all this stuff. I should have went with a Hoover.
I'm at a loss there, buddy.
I should have went with a Hoover.
Any of my own cleaning.
Oh, man. That was like my first big boy purchase. I got my apartment, and the second that I got my apartment, I said, oh, man, I need a vacuum. And I started looking up all the cool bells and whistle vacuums, and the Dyson just, their marketing is gorgeous. It really goes to show how good marketing can be. And it's just, they're showing all the different ventricles of the vacuum and all the different suction points and this and that. I said, I gotta have that. I didn't have to have it. I spent $1,000 on that vacuum. I could have bought a $400 vacuum. Probably would have been just as good.
Yeah, or a $50 house cleaner.
You know what? I have my apartment is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. It is not that big. It really isn't. It's my living room and my kitchen are probably, they're combined, front to back. Mm-hmm. It's probably a little bit bigger than this room, maybe a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So it's a good size, but it's not that big.
No.
So that plus a bedroom and 1 bathroom, little tiny bathroom. Every time I have a cleaning person come over, they go $150.
What?
I'm like, what? $150 for what?
Right.
Like, okay, I get the dog is dirty and you got dog, whatever, but that is crazy. All I need is somebody to come in, mop the floors a little bit, wipe the windows, clean the counters, just do the stuff that I lack doing every single day.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired.
Not only tired, but like I'm not cleaning toilets, man. I don't care if it's mine or somebody else's. Like I'm not cleaning a bathroom, like a bathtub, It's
just like everything's a hassle. It's like it's an annoying. You got to do one cleaner to get in there, then you have to wait. Then you have to do the other cleaner in there to do it, and then you wait. And then you got to hit it with the brush. You got to do it. I'm with you. I'd rather just pay somebody to do it, but I also don't want $150.
No, it's too much.
$150?
I don't think I ever have. Never.
No, it's insane. It's insane to be paying that much money. Yeah, I'm trying to look up that woman. What did you say? She was doing what with blood?
So she had a company that would test blood, but it was supposed to be like an instantaneous, thing. It was like a
instant blood test.
Like basically. But she started this company and she was building out this product that wasn't fully built out, and I don't know if it ever actually was, but they were bringing in millions and millions of dollars through seed investment. Oh,
I have it. Elizabeth Holmes?
Yes.
Elizabeth Holmes is escorted by prison officials into a federal women's prison camp on May 30th of 2023 in Bryan, Texas.
Yeah. So there's documentaries about her. There's a movie that just came out. I forget who the actress that played her, but did a fantastic job. And there was a transformation throughout, like when she started the company to when she started to I think lose her mind. What happened was, she was in this world where she was constantly competing with these men, so she started to deepen her voice and sound and talk really funny. People that knew her when she was in high school and in college were like, why is she talking like that?
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really, really strange. But in the movie, they actually did a really good job with that.
39 on Thursday. Entered, I'm trying to find the exact thing. She begins her sentence. Holmes is leaving 2 young children, a son born in July.
Lots of money.
Build up to the startup. While she was building up Theranos, Holmes...
That's what it was. Theranos, yep.
Theranos?
Yeah.
Grew closer to Ramesh Sunny Balwani, who would become her romantic partner as well as an investor and fellow executive in the Palo Alto, California company. Can we just go on record and say that generally these companies that keep spreading up in Palo Alto aren't that good? They're really just not.
It's a stretch, man, especially these days. I mean, they're really kind of pushing the limits.
These tech people are really pushing it.
Yeah. And stay out of my agriculture tech, people.
Yeah, leave my farm and my things alone.
That's it.
Well, that's what they want. They want to be able to just be in control of everything. And I heard legislation about how many vegetables you can and all this different stuff that you can grow. Bro, go scratch, dude. I do not subscribe to that shit.
I don't need lab steak. I want mine cut off of cow.
Exactly. I want my shit fresh. The hype surrounding that. They promised to revolutionize healthcare with a technology that could quickly scan for diseases and other problems with a few drops of blood taken with a finger prick. I mean,
great idea
and premise. Very promising. I'd be like, hey, I don't like blood tests, so take a couple drops. But it all blew up after serious, dangerous flaws in Theranos technology. Right, the Theranos?
Yeah.
Theranos technology were exposed in a series of explosive articles. The Wall Street Journal that Holmes and Balwani tried to thwart. Let's get to the point. Land the plane, guys. They broke up. Don't care.
It's a big part of the equation, that relationship. I think probably just because he was one of like the major investors or one of the people responsible for helping her get investors to the program, and he was kind of implicated in that entire thing because he apparently knew that there wasn't a product yet, and they were basically just trying to fake it till they make it kind of situation, but with a lot of money.
I mean, he was convicted on 12 felony counts of fraud, conspiracy, in a trial that began 2 months after Holmes. Conspiracy in a trial that began 2 months after Holmes ended. That's not written properly. He is serving a nearly 13-year prison sentence in Southern California. That sucks.
They were made a big example of, for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maintaining.
I'm surprised you haven't heard about any of this.
Nope. I gotta be honest with you. I don't read the news anymore.
Yeah.
There's been a very big switch in my mindset, and it's not to say that it's the right way to do things or the wrong way, but generally speaking, what I've seen from news outlets as of late is just a ton of negativity. Yeah. Especially since COVID. Like it's too much, guys. It's too much. It's too much. I hate using the word, I really do, but it's too much gaslighting. It's too much fake shit. It's
signaling.
Yeah, dude. Just like and making stories out of things that don't really need a story and that aren't real, and it's just sensationalism.
Well, that's media from the beginning of time.
Yes.
Right? So ever since they invented the newspaper, they've been inventing ways not only to create ways to get the attraction of people, to get the eyes of people, and that's obviously going to be something controversial, something a little bit outside the norm. Nobody wants to hear about the lady that cooked, shepherd's pie down the street, right? They want to hear about the lady that cooked shepherd's pie and burnt her house down.
Yep.
And that's the unfortunate part about it. But the signaling part is also just become, and social media has had so much to do with spreading that like wildfire.
Yeah. It's a tough view on all standpoints. So for me, it's just I've tried to become. I said it on the last podcast. I've said it on a bunch of them because I've just been banging the podcast out. So it feels like they're all linked together sometimes. But I've tried to become more of a producer of content versus a consumer of content. So I put things out there, and hopefully my message or whatever the guest that was on has to say, or whatever video project that I was working on hits the mark and people are excited about the product or the person, whatever it might be. And that's it, man.
Yeah.
Like
set it and forget it.
That's it. I'm trying to really just forget about having to constantly, because I mean we're all guilty of it. We pick our phone up, and what's the first app we go to? It's either messages or Instagram. It's weird. It's weird how your brain has been rewired by an application on your phone, which your phone was meant to make calls, text message, and do business type of things. And Instagram is a business application for a lot of people, but at the same time, most of the stuff that we're doing on there is not business related.
No, even if people try to. I mean, I think that you can be on Instagram at any given moment, and someone's trying to sell something on Instagram just through content. It's not even an ad, right?
Yeah.
Like all of Instagram is an ad.
Yep. And now I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been getting ads in people's timelines. So if you go to someone's feed and you scroll through a couple of photos or videos, whatever they have, all of a sudden there's a random ad in there, and you're just like, really? Like you're just really throwing it at me from all angles.
Yeah, not just the ads. Now they're pushing threads through there as well, which I can't stand. They get me sometimes too, like something that I might be interested in, and I'll click on it, and all of a sudden it'll just open up threads.
Yeah.
Like I wish I never signed up to.
Yeah, I signed up with threads when it first came out. And just as I predicted, like a couple days later, I put a thread up and I just said, everyone's still using this, or are we done with it already?
Fucking Ghost Town.
And Ghost Town. Yeah. Generally a Ghost Town. I think Jocko Willink, his team is posting on it. That dude, Alex Hormozzi, or whatever his name is, the entrepreneur dude. And Yeah, that's really all I see on there. And it's just kind of, it went from, wow, you can actually talk to the people that you've been trying to talk to for so long and connect and actually connect instead of just being sent into the DMs to like, nah, we're not using this anymore. Yeah. It's so weird how everybody just like immediately flocks back to Instagram. There have been a lot of attempts at dethroning Instagram and getting them off, and there's like a slow introductory period of people like going, oh no, this is it. And then within a month or so, it's just, people just go right back to posting stories, right back to just feeding into the Instagram machine.
I'm curious what it's going to take to actually bring it, because it's a behemoth. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember when Instagram first came out, Facebook was still very, very like, relative, like to everyone, you know, and then obviously, you know, you started getting to grandparents on Facebook, so everyone was like, all right, grandparents are here, it's time.
Yeah, we mass exodus, we're out.
Yeah, and that's when the youthification of our society started to really happen, right? When like grandparents started being on Facebook, they started using emojis. You know, it was, you know, when you get an emoji message from your grandfather, that's when you know, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, Grandpa, I didn't even know you knew how to bring up that keyboard.
Right, but I am curious to see like who's going to come up with the next big thing. Around the time when Instagram came out, and I don't know if you remember this, and I don't even remember if there was like what the name of it was, but I do remember that it was an Australian company that did it, an Australian tech company. They came up with a very similar media platform like Instagram, and it had sound on the background. So it was still photography. So you can take a picture, let's say, for example, of you're on the beach, waves crashing, birds flying overhead.
Okay.
Right? And there would be a little snippet of that sound that would play in the background of that photo.
I think I do remember that.
It was brief and it was quick.
What was the name of the app?
I don't remember for the life of me, man. It was an Australian company. We don't even have to look it up because I'm sure that they probably just got bought out by somebody.
It's, oh my God. I do remember that. Because I mean, I started with Instagram back when, what was it, like 09, 2010, something like that?
Yeah, 09, 2010. And it was sold like, I think, less than 18 months later. For $1 billion.
October 6th, so about a month ago for like the anniversary. Mm-hmm. October 6th, 2010 was the
13 years.
Was the first time. And then it racked up 25,000 users in one day. Yeah. That's pretty crazy for 2010.
It was huge because it took the elements of Facebook that people were really interested in and just featured that.
Yeah.
Which was just the photo and a little bit of content. Photo, a little bit of content. That was it. And that's what everybody was responding to at the time. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember that.
Instagram. Me too. Instagram. What would even be the term? What would even be the term you'd look for?
I don't know. It was, like I said, it was an app that very specifically focused on still photographs with a snippet of sound on the back end of it. So you'd hear the birds, chirping in the background. You'd hear the waves crashing, and it kind of just set a mood for it. It was so brief.
I'm so curious as to what it was.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up too.
Yeah, they say it's all threads. They're feeding me. I'm like, nope, that's not what I'm looking for.
Oh, on a macro scale, I've always been interested in social media and what they're doing and what they're about, and I've watched them carefully, even from back in the day. Like I was definitely one of those people that kind of attached himself to people like Gary Vaynerchuk, like original, like especially back in the day when he was going through the process of figuring it out and at the same time explaining it to the rest of us that were just like scratching our heads, and he had some really, really great foresight on what was going to happen. Just like the foresight that he had with the selling of Instagram. At the time, I think everyone was kind of like, $1 billion? How can you sell, an app for $1 billion? Like, there's no, and this was back in the day when Facebook wasn't even making their own money yet. They hadn't introduced ads yet. It was all, let's see down the line what's going to happen.
I knew they were going to go towards, some type of a paid platform. Yeah. I mean, I paid for the check. I paid for the check for the first 4 or 5 months. And, they promised a lot with that thing. They promised that you'd have increased exposure and you'd have a team that was ready to talk to you if you needed backup or assistance or this and that. I didn't see any of it. No. I didn't see any benefit to paying for the check mark anymore, so I stopped paying for it. Now I don't have a check mark anymore. Oh, my God. Life is over.
They got rid of your check mark?
They got rid of my check mark because I stopped paying the $15 a month. Oh, no. What's going to happen?
Wow.
It's like, gives a shit. Like, for me, the big play right now is YouTube. So with the podcast, with everything that I do, the clips, whatnot, interacting with people, YouTube is my play.
Yeah.
So like that's my long play. So the last 2 weeks since I've been in this office, just about 2 weeks. It'll be a little over 2 weeks. I've been hammering YouTube content, like just going in on it, just tons of reels. And there's somewhere I'm sitting there and I'm my fingers hovering over the publish button. I'm like, I know that this clip, because they're only going to take it at face value for the clip, I know that there's going to be some, not great comments when I wake up, but whatever. It's going to...
Do you even pay attention to that?
Exactly. It's going to be engagement and whatever. So I said, fuck it. And I post it. Next morning, not great comments. But regardless.
Yeah.
So it's been great because...
Well, what do you mean by not great comments? Like, you don't have to even put like a specific...
No. I mean, basically what happens is when you do podcasting, it's like an interesting thing because everybody believes that you're just trying to be famous. And like, without question, it's like, am I trying to get some notoriety? Yeah, of course. I'm trying to show that I have experiences and a lot of different things that I've done in life that can maybe help other people. Am I all in it for the money? No, because I would have taken on the people that offer me sponsorships for the show already, and I would have taken the money and started charging them.
Right.
But I didn't, because it didn't align with me, with what the show is, with who I am. I'm not just going to take money to just take money. It's just then I'm a sellout, and I don't like that shit. I've always stayed true to just being super transparent, honest, right up front. Exactly how you see me is exactly how you're going to get me. It's just I can't be fake. I can't pretend. Like I told my mom this morning, I was on the phone with her. She always gets she's older, obviously. I mean, she's older in terms of like her thought process with social media and stuff. And I told her, I said, I have almost something like, I probably lost some followers by now. Oh no, I gained followers. That's weird. I gained like 10.
That's great.
I did like a mass exodus of like unfollowing 500 people this morning. Just
to clear the content.
I got to clear it. Yeah. It's over. Yeah. Like we don't fuck with each other. Like it's not that we hate each other.
I do a purge every month.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't like your content. You don't like my content. Whatever. It's cool. Like maybe it was a person I met at a show one day, at a bodybuilding show years ago, and they're like, "Yo, Nikki Rizzo's," like when I was working with Arash. "Yo, you do videos for Arash, or you do videos yo, this and that," and they follow me, and I have some type of weird compassion type follow back where I go, oh, okay, well, the fact that they even knew who I was, that's like flattering, and I'll follow back, because I always hated when I would be a fan of someone or something and I'd follow them and, they'd DM me and be like, yo, thanks, man, great picture, and then you just wouldn't get a follow and you're sitting there like, okay, but whatever. So I always wanted to like do the follow, but now I get it, because after a while everything drops off and you're just not interested in each other's content. So it's cool. So I did like a mass purge.
Yeah,
I got rid of a ton of people, ton of dead weight. Like I'm over. Once again, we go back to realness. We go back to being transparent. I've always been. So it's like, why are we going to sit here and fluff each other's numbers? I can't sit here and preach realness if like every time your name is on a post or I see your name, I just go, oh God. Nah, man, and it's nothing against you. It's not that I hate you. It's just I'm just not interested anymore. And just like people grow in and out of genres of books and movies and video games and whatever, it's just like we're in different chapters and as we're navigating through this life.
I had this conversation with my wife recently because
my mom thinks it's mean. She's like, don't unfollow them. I go, no, because we're not doing business together. And I didn't want to cut you off, but we're not doing business together.
You nailed it.
We're not doing business together. We're not hanging out on the weekends.
It's not an emotional thing.
Yeah, it's cool. Like whatever.
I like almost every post that comes through my feed.
Same.
But because if I follow you, means I'm going to like that content.
Yes.
And if I don't, and I find that you're constantly coming through my content and I'm not hitting that like button, there's a reason for that. It means I don't want that content.
Yep.
So I'm just going to purge. I'm just going to take you off.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times too, it's like I'm learning stuff, from social media, or at least I try to. I try to pick up some things, here and there. Whether it's like a cool little like doodad about history, or if it's about the industry that that we're both in or have been in, all of that information somehow I can. And this goes back to like old school like bartending days for me when I was younger. I always wanted to like read constantly all the time, whether it was newspapers, magazines, anything to keep up with the people that were coming into the bar. And I wanted to be able to relate to them, right? You want to talk about Wall Street, you want to talk about sports. I hated sports growing up. Be honest to God, football, soccer, basketball, you name it. If it was organized and it was like a team environment, I wasn't.
You were out.
I was out. I was like, and also I didn't understand it either. I'm saying? I still don't understand offsides on soccer.
I don't get it either. Or on hockey. I go, what do you mean? He's like, he had a breakaway.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't even. I'm like, where's the puck? I don't even see it. They're moving way too fast. Yeah, I don't get the sport, but which is tough now living on Long Island because I grew up in the city. Living on Long Island, I see how big the sport actually is. Whereas growing up in the city, like there's not really many people that care about hockey.
Yeah, lacrosse. Lacrosse is huge on Long Island. I mean, huge.
Basketball is huge in the city, just because there's courts everywhere and everyone's playing when they grow up and stuff. But
which is dope because that's like the summertime jam and vibe. You're just walking around, you see everyone hooping, you see the dudes playing handball. It's like it's
go
good
down to
vibes.
West 4th Street in the city and see how excited you can get about basketball.
Oh, packed.
100%.
Packed. Everyone's around. They just want to see everyone just doing their thing.
It's a spectator sport down
there. When you think New York vibes, that's what I think of. 100%. I think of that shit. I think
Especially
of like the community, everyone just being one, hanging out, just don't matter like race, culture. It doesn't. Everyone just comes through and just like vibes, and that
used to be that way.
Used to be, yeah. It's
a very different New York now.
Yeah, I don't go to New York now.
yeah. No, not many people do. I don't go back very often.
Yeah, I stay on the island, or I go to my trips and I do my thing, and that's pretty much it, man. I'm happy in my bubble.
I'm a pandemic Long Island guy, so
you're a transplant.
Yeah, I'm a transplant. When I moved out here, I was in Brooklyn actually, not in the city, but I grew up in the city. But I was living in Brooklyn right before I moved out here. And my wife and I, after many, many years, we've known each other for years, and we got together online, and then I moved out here and just never left.
Yeah,
never left. I was like, close to the beach.
That's what I was gonna say. How was the vibes for you? You really loved it?
Great, fantastic. You get to be outside all the time. There's a preserve right outside our house, basically like 10 feet from our front door, and I get to go in there and just run and do what I do, just to kind of like be outdoors and just enjoy the time. And any direction that you go, there's a beach everywhere, and just being out here, man. I love the people are just salt of the earth.
Yeah.
We live in Massapequa Park, and I love it, man.
Massapequa's dope, man. It's a nice little area.
It's great, man.
I'm not a South Shore guy. I dated a couple girls from the South Shore. I've never really been a South Shore guy.
Yeah.
I've always lived on the North Shore. So I think it's like you're just used to. I think it's more crowded down there. Every time I drive on Merrick Road, I just want to put my head through the window and just start raging. I can't.
The driving is tough out here.
I can't deal with it, man. When when the Gilgo Beach thing was going on with the murder and everything like that.
3 blocks from my house.
Yeah, right there, right. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like walking, like when it happened, because my wife's really into like murder porn, like
why are women into that shit?
I don't know, but they are.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like murder podcasts, like
my mom,
everything.
All my exes, they all love that shit. It's so strange.
But the second it happened, she was like, "You want to walk by there?" And I was like, all right, let's go. It's raining. I'm like, all right, let's go. We walked down. And oddly enough, I was surprised that we were even able to like walk by. Because, it was surrounded by cops and barricades and everything. But people just, because it was neighborhood.
Yeah, it's just whatever. You can't stop everybody.
Yeah. From what I understand, the family's still living there. Which is really wild. Because you can like walk by at any time now and like watch them just
watch them like you're bird watching.
Yeah. Like they're on the porch. The funny thing about
nothing's going down.
Well, the funny thing about
just had bodies in your backyard and shit.
Small town Long Island, like Massapequa, like area. And some of the things that I saw like on the news, and I heard people saying like there was this one woman who was being interviewed about it, and she was like, I always knew there was something off with that guy. He was always hanging out in his backyard. And I was like, yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, how dare you go enjoy outside?
It would be strange if he was hanging out in your backyard.
Yeah, right. Like
not in his own.
Again, Joe. Yeah. Get out of the backyard. Go into yours.
Exactly.
Yeah, a couple of my friends that don't live in the state, they were like, "Yo, you ever see this guy?" I said, "Bro, this dude looks like every guy I've ever cut off on Merrick Road. He looks like every guy I've ever cut off at Merrick Road and told him that you can't fucking drive." Yeah. So no, he doesn't look familiar. I probably have flipped him off before though.
I've been living 3 blocks away from the guy for the last 3 years.
Never seen him.
Never seen
him. Never seen him.
Yeah.
The density,
definitely not walking around.
No, the density on Long Island is kind of crazy, man. It really is. So yeah, I've always liked the North Shore, and that's why when I decided on, my office was in Roslyn. That's where it used to be.
Yeah.
So the Roslyn office was cool, but it was very small. Very compact, and
I'm still getting familiar with like the geography. Like when you're talking about North Shore, South Shore, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just talking like there's just the almost like the split of the LIE. That's really what it is.
One thing you should know, and I don't know if it's for everybody, so I'm sorry, all New Yorkers, if you have a problem with this. When you grow up in the city, you have a very hard time understanding direction, like because everything is a grid, right? So you know where 22nd Street is because it's right after 21st or right before 23rd.
Yeah, and 3 over this way.
That's it. And as far as like east and west is concerned, well, that's easy too because if you're on the west side, then you're going this way, you're going to go east. That way, you're going to go west, right? North and south, the same thing. But when you're out here, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
You know, like
This is the closest to the wilderness you've ever been.
this is the Wild West for me, man. This is the Wild West for sure.
This is Montana, man. Mountain ranges.
Yeah, no, like we have a couple of rivers that, we're surrounded and we're in this little cluster of place, Yeah, you can get lost in Central Park if you're a city boy,
Yeah, yeah.
And when you were talking earlier about, like vacuum cleaners and like all this stuff, I needed any of that stuff done, man. I just called the super downstairs,
Oh, yeah?
Are you kidding me, man? Yeah, my wife makes fun of me all the time because you'll never see me with a tool in my hand. I'm not the guy that you call when you need a mirror hung.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
my dad was an iron worker, and I'm just, none of that handiness was like ever handed down to me. So
same.
yeah, I can't grasp the concept of like, even look, do you see those two nails right there? I got too nervous trying to hang something and I stopped midway. So now there's just two nails in my wall.
Yeah, because you put nails in the sheetrock wall. I know that much.
I just kind of fucking went right in. Yeah.
There are sheetrock screws for certain.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, all right. And then I stopped. So I was like, I'm just not going to do it. So once I get my sound panels, I ordered a bunch of sound panels and tiles for the room to.
This place is great, though.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, you got, and centrally located. I love where you are out here. Like, this area is someplace that we actually visit quite often.
Oh, nice.
It's got a great little cluster of restaurants. Got one of my favorites out here. Shout out to Frank Antonetti, baby, 1653 Pizza.
Oh, I've heard amazing things about them.
been yet?
I've never gone. Yeah. I've been living here for over a year now, and I haven't gone there yet.
Mike, his partner, the pizza chef, Pizzaiola, whatever they're calling those guys, just has this unbelievable gift making like I think. I'm sure he'll probably remind me if he ever watches this, and it's like Roman style like pizza, brick oven, kind of like a little bit smaller, like individual kind of like pie,
which is good. So you're not being a total fatty.
Oh man, they're so delicious.
Or you become more of a fatty because you eat more of them.
Yeah, well, you're still gonna have the appetizers.
Yeah.
Stop there, But yeah, some really good food. Yeah, that's right next door to Rust and Gold. I think because Frank owns Rust and Gold as well.
Okay, that's cool.
But it's a great little spot, like right there, and there's a bunch of different places out here that we love going to all the time.
Dude, I love it up here. I really do. If I was to continually stay on Long Island, which obviously for now it's home.
You grew up here.
Yeah, I grew up here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been around the world, man. I've been around the world. I've been around the United States, and I haven't seen anywhere else that I could just go, this is home. Yeah. Like I haven't felt that way anywhere else yet. So until I do, I have a lot of people that I know that'll just go up and go. They'll just be like, okay, and then they come back and they go back out and they come back in. And I just don't want to do that. I'm a big believer of just like it's got to be right. Like I don't want to just do things just to do them. Grass is greener effect. Shouts to Tyler. I love my boy T. Tyler's like on this kick of I want to just move to Colorado for a little while, and then now he's off of it again. But it's like I can't
because he did it, or
no, he's never even been. So it's like that's what I'm saying. So it's like I couldn't do those things. I have to go be a transplant for a little while. I have to live there a few weeks. I have to. It's like a relationship, man.
Yeah.
This is a long-term relationship that you're getting invested in. Your business, your life, just everything about it. Instead of just doing it whimsically and. Maybe it'll work. I never understood that. I couldn't understand how people could do that. Maybe it'll work. I'll give it a shot. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh God, what?
Before the pandemic, I noticed, and for years before that, I noticed that a lot of people, especially from here, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, like to California, LA, they would always end up moving back. The other way around, it wasn't the case. It would actually end up sticking around for much longer. Maybe eventually going back to California when they were like old enough to, enjoy the good weather and not have to like work as much as they did. I'm not a fan of the West Coast as much. I think people, for the most part, think that they are just because of how beautiful it is. But I'm not.
I'm going to tell you a secret.
Yeah, sure.
And for people that listen to the podcast regularly, they're going to know this already, and they're going to know it's coming. So new people that are listening right now, LA is a shithole. Okay.
Shocker.
Said what I said. It is what it is. It is gross out there.
More so now than ever.
The picture of the golden city that has been painted for everybody for years through Hollywood
is up in the hills.
Hate to say it.
Yeah.
It's
out of most people's reach.
Yeah, it's in Malibu and Calabasas.
Good luck.
It's not in LA. So, you go out there with the dreams of just, it's going to be the most picturesque thing in the world. And then you're confronted with smog and dirty streets and homelessness. And it winds up making you more depressed and the weather is not going to counteract that depression.
Actually, it does the reverse in that manner, right? Like in the wintertime here, and we have a big homeless problem in New York as well, obviously, right? And but there, because the weather is so mild, everyone is constantly outside. They're always outdoors. So it's great from the perspective of if you want to live out, be outdoors and have more of an outdoor kind of like lifestyle.
If you're in a less fortunate situation and you are homeless, then it's better to be out there than it is to be 100%. In Detroit.
Especially since they're just letting you pitch a tent. Basically anywhere you want.
Yeah, they're doing whatever you want. Yeah, and you just don't have to pay property taxes.
They're giving people money.
Yeah.
They're giving people money, which, in turn, I'm not saying that every homeless person out there has a drug problem, but if you do.
Well, I mean, if you're just handed money and you got nothing else to do all day, then what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to invest that money. I'm not going to put it away.
Start a business.
It's fucked up all around, man. There has to be more. Us as a civilization, there have to be better ways of handling things and confronting these problems instead of just like patting it on the head and putting a Band-Aid on it and going, it's okay. This is what we're going to try for now. It's like, no. We have to have these tough conversations. We have to be able to spearhead tough issues. If the homeless population can't help themselves, there has to be something that we can do to help them. Not open up safe injection sites for you to do dope, and if you overdose, there's a nurse waiting there for you. Now, what's crazy to me is I am not a drug guy, and that's not the crazy part. But I'm not a drug guy. I never have been. I smoked weed a couple of times. Like it never sat well with me. And then the increase of potential psychosis from smoking weed increases as you smoke more and more, according to Andrew Huberman. So don't quote me. Quote. A-Hubes.
Right. And that's what he says, right? He says, like, if you already have an underlying kind of like problem with
even if you don't,
it'll just trigger.
You can have a random psychotic and psychosis type event that then triggers you and you're in it now. Nice. Like, that's it. So
like Roseanne Barr's life in the last dozen years.
basically. Yeah. So it's just, to me, I've woken up lately and it's tough because you look around you and you just see everyone else is either getting to that point, they're there, or they're not interested in being awake, which is okay. I mean, and when I say awake, I mean understanding what's going on, like not just world, not just government, but our food, what you're putting into your body, the amount of physical activity you're doing.
That's the biggest issue.
The stuff that you're consuming, mental, physical, like all of these things, you don't have to be awake. Like when people say, "Oh, I'm awake now," they think like, "Oh, you're against the government or you're this or that." No, that's not what it means. To me, it means I'm understanding life as a whole now. I'm starting to see things in a larger scale versus just like when I was bodybuilding and my biggest concern every single day was I have to go hit arms. It's not that way anymore, man. Yeah. There's a lot more stressors. There's a lot more things going on in life that we have to be concerned with because they directly and indirectly affect us.
And the one thing about waking up for a lot of people is that it's incredibly scary.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you were not scared before, it's just because you didn't have your eyes open, right? And fear is one of those things where it's going to exist. You just have to learn how to combat it. You have to learn how to kind of like balance that in your life. And if you're the kind of person that in the face of fear just kind of crumbles, obviously, you haven't been challenged enough in your life, so you don't understand how to come back from that. But it's something that you can learn. It's a learned skill, just like coordination, just like bodybuilding, just like anything else. It's a learned skill, right? Like, I don't know what the educational process is for that. I'm not writing the workbook on that. But I've been in a place of fear a few times in my life, right? Fear of starting a business, right? Especially when everything's on the line. Fear of going into, certain areas that you're uncomfortable with. Like you, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been a business owner, going to places that are foreign, not just foreign places, but places that are truly foreign, in nature. Like I've been to places in Africa, like Burkina Faso, for example, or even in Mali, where there could be a war. And it doesn't even have to be that far, right? Like I went to Costa Rica when I was like 16 or 17 years old on a little like surf trip. And they were in the middle of a war with Nicaragua at the time. So we're surfing while 400, 500 yards down the beach, there's gunfire, tanks, people running at one another with weapons. And we're like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Just get in the water and start surfing.
Yeah. Next wave's coming.
Exactly.
Next wave's coming.
Yeah. But that's the joy of being a 16 or 17 year old. You know what I'm saying? Like you
can assess danger, but you can't really understand it until
you're drawn to it.
Oh yeah.
You're drawn to it, especially at that age. Certain people, some people will, kind of shy away from it. But a lot of what people are facing as far as fear is concerned now, I think happens to do with like the transparency that waking up that people are experiencing right now, right? Because everything is becoming more and more transparent.
Well, yeah, we're presented with information on a daily and second by second basis. Yep. And these things can, let's say we're both prominent figures and, we have an argument in this room. That information could come out within minutes of us having the argument, even though it's only us two in here.
Of course.
All it takes is us saying it to one person, then that person says it to somebody else, and then that's it. It's tweeted, it's Instagrammed, it's everything like that. Oh, what's this drama between Constantine and Nick?
Everybody wants to be first on the scene.
Yes.
And it's the same thing, like all media was like that, right? They would always send people out to, wherever that fire was.
Which I get. They want the break. They want the breaking news, the story as it unfolds.
And if you can break it, you get the most eyes.
Yeah, or the first eyes.
Yeah.
And the first eyes are sometimes the most important.
The most important, and actually ad revenue is.
But how are they shaping said story for those first eyes? That's the problem.
I'll tell you exactly how they're shaping it. Okay. They're shaped because I have the inside scoop on this now. I don't have the inside scoop.
But you're awake.
What I do have is a little bit of like rationale, a little bit of like logic, right? It just makes sense. We want to take and we want to capture whatever the story is and enhance it in any way possible to be able to get that attention. And we do the same thing. We always blame the media, but I mean, you can just go on a date with somebody and the same thing, right? Our representative always comes out first, We drop a few less F-bombs maybe. We're a little bit more careful, a little more cautious with what we're saying.
If someone listens to my podcast and then they go out on a date with me, they'll be like, oh, he's such an angel. He doesn't say he's never cursed. He doesn't say anything like that. They listen to the podcast. They go, whoa, who is this dude? It's just when I'm comfortable and I'm chilling, they just fly, man.
Yeah.
It happens.
I don't know what your mom is like, but I'm assuming that episode probably had a lot less cursing.
Yeah. So I think I got it from
some moms are out there.
Hey, mom, sorry. I think I got it from you. I grew up in her office, and she's a mortgage broker. I used to hear her sling them left and right. Oh my God.
Yeah, Long Island girl.
Yeah,
she grew up out here too.
West Hempstead, Franklin Square. She grew up, so like right on the border, like that New Hyde Park, Queens area, and just. Yeah, she's been a hustler since day one. My mom.
They make them a little bit tougher out here, man. Just real people, real human beings.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it has a lot to do with. It has a lot to do with the environment. Mm-hmm. It has a lot to do with the people and the things that you're exposed to and you're around. Obviously, the experiences make the man. Experiences make the human being. But I would say, if we're going to compare different areas and the people and how they develop. You're always going to get a realer product on the East Coast versus the West Coast, and it's weird because the West Coast people will just like smile in your face even if they hate you. But generally, the East Coast people will be like, "I don't like you. Please get away. Get away from me."
Yeah.
It's just crazy how these different
areas.
I lived
in the South for a while.
Oh, did you? What part?
I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, for a little bit, and then I moved to Charleston, South Carolina.
My buddy, real quick, buddy has been trying to get me to move to North Carolina. Yeah, exactly. That's my thought process exactly. He has been trying. Yo, Vinny, I love you to death, bro, but you're a hammer, and you know it. I went down to visit him because I was like, you know what? Let me just go down and see my man. I haven't seen him in a minute. Him and his girl, they're getting married. I said, you know what? Let me go see him, hang out. And he's just like, bro, it's amazing down here. The dating scene. Blah, blah. He's talking it up. He's a news anchor. That's what he's doing. That's
exactly how I got caught up into it.
Gassing me up, and I said, all right, cool. So I went down there and I looked around and I went, it's all right. Like it's not
for me.
Yeah, it's not like me going. This has been right here this whole time.
Right.
I gotta get out, dude.
Right.
I'm booking a flight. I'm canceling the flight back.
The pyramids, like you got. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's Pez.
Yeah. I got sand castles on from Jones Beach.
Yeah, less. You got White Castles.
White Castles. So I got farts.
Bro. Just steamy meat.
Yeah. But the funny thing is when he's telling me that, and I want you to hear your experience of North Carolina because I'm assuming it's pretty similar to what I'm saying then. When I'm talking, we're at dinner. We're at this nice spot downtown Charlotte, and this beautiful girl comes over to the table. She's the waitress, and she starts talking to us. And of course, he's like, "See." I'm like, "Oh yeah, the one super hot girl we've seen in a few hours." Okay, and so she's talking to us, and we're like, "Oh, how long you been here?" She's like, "Oh, born and raised this and that, but I can't wait to get out of here." And we're like, I said, oh, really? Why is that? She's like, the dating is trash down here, this and that. I said, So it really isn't a grass. It really is a grass is greener type effect. It can be generally the same everywhere. The grass is actually greener where you water it.
Yeah.
So be happy with where you are and what you're doing.
And I think that I was, because I spent a lot of time down there, and we're talking about like in total about 10 years.
Oh, damn.
In the South.
Oh, damn.
You know? Kind of like as a base. I did a lot of traveling while I was down there as well. But I have a very similar story into how I got down there. But my experience, and I'll say this first and foremost, I actually did enjoy some of my time while I was down there.
It seemed dope. I'm not gonna pretend like it was trash. It wasn't trash.
That I palled around with, like a lot of them were actually imports. A lot of them, oddly enough, came from the Upper East
transplants.
Side. Yeah, exactly, the transplants. But even though that, like a lot of people, I was very familiar with them when I got down there. So I was in the restaurant business before I got into the fitness industry, and as a restaurant owner, I was lucky enough to have some success very early on, and I sold my businesses back in 2008, 2009, roughly around the time when the market was taking a huge shit in its own pants. And I was lucky to get out at that time. Yeah. So I always wanted to travel, and I knew that there was, a means to an end with the restaurant business to try and make some money in order to be able to kind of like provide that for myself. I went down to Costa Rica for a little bit just after the sale of the restaurants. And when I tell you, like I grew a beard, I was wearing a sarong and only a sarong basically for like 6 months that I was like
hipped out.
Oh, I mean, I was
hipped
done.
out.
I was done. I was the guy that was like never talked to anyone, constantly alone. And you can imagine like after like a dozen years in the restaurant business, where you're always on, right? Yeah. Always on.
It's tough, man. It's like retail. It's retail with consuming items.
It's retail with schizophrenia, because if you have 100 people in the room, you got to have 100 different personalities or be able to kind of like pivot and switch every single time, because everybody has different needs and they want you they want you to act a little bit differently with them. Some people like conversation. Some people want to be left alone. Some people want
here's the specials, and then let me know what you want.
Exactly right. But at the time, I was just kind of like done being on. I wanted that off switch on the entire time. So I was there. I was enjoying my time. And every once in a while, I'd go into town, right? Because I was right on the beach. And I would, go to the internet cafe, check some emails. I didn't have a phone anymore. I was done with that. So I had kept my phone on, and I would just check my voicemails. Because at the time, people were still leaving voicemails. And I got a call from a buddy of mine who lived in Chicago. And he had a bar and restaurant there, a few of them actually. And they were opening up this huge monster of a spot in Charlotte, North Carolina. And even though I had done some traveling during that time, I had never really traveled around the United States very much at all. I'm a New York kid, born and raised. And my very first question was, where the fuck is Charlotte, North Carolina? Like it might have been like North Dakota, like it didn't
register
compute at all. So he was like, man, listen, he goes, do me a favor, just pack a bag and come down here, And he had it set up that weekend was like, they're not near the ocean, right? Like it's actually quite far, the North Carolina coast from Charlotte. They're very like inlet. And we went to the lake. Lake Norman is kind of like where everybody kind of hangs out. And we're on the boat, and the boat is just packed with like just gorgeous like Southern girls that are super sweet with that really,
which you're not accustomed to being up in New York.
It's different, right? You don't have this like harsh, kind of like girls that are
fuck you looking at.
Like these
my bad.
Super sweet accent just made him even sweeter. And it was kind of like Miami, in North Carolina. And he knew, that was going to be the picture that he was painting, right? So, I get there and I was like, this is fun. Like, this looks like a lot of fun. Like, I'm only going to be down here for a year, like, I could do this. So I packed a bag and I went down there. I believe I went down there like around February or March. I remember because it was like right around like St. Patrick's Day. And we opened up this restaurant. It was like 10,000 square feet, 3 floors, food, alcohol. There was 4 bars total in the entire place, right? Where we can have anywhere between, 3 and 4 bartenders at each. It's a huge monstrosity of a place. And it was just packed every single night. and it was a huge success. It was great. And then that success led to another opportunity for me with the Epicenter in Charlotte, North Carolina, which was kind of like this big, huge strip mall of restaurants, bars, and clubs, and a bunch of fun stuff. And I was able to be involved with that from an operational perspective, which was really, really cool. And then, of course, the North Carolina Music Factory, which also housed and still does an amphitheater, an outdoor amphitheater there. Originally, I think it was called the Roadrunner Amphitheater. I don't know who has the sponsorship for it now, but that was a really, really big project in North Carolina that I really enjoyed. Oddly enough, I thought that Charlotte, North Carolina was Charleston, South Carolina, just because they both start with CH, and I was unfamiliar with it. And I always used to tell everybody when I first moved down there that I was like, where's like the beach? Where's the ocean? Where are all the boats? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I always thought it was like, like the Ravenel Bridge and like all that stuff. They're like, no, that's Charleston, South Carolina. I was like, all right, let's go there, And we went, and I fell in love with it. Charleston, South Carolina is an absolute gorgeous place. But just like most gorgeous places, and I'm sorry, Charleston, South Carolina, this is not for everybody, the people ruin it.
Yeah.
And I say this about my homeland too, right? My family is Greek. They come from Greece. I'm first generation here in the United States. And even when I traveled to Greece, in the summer when we were children, I loved it. It's gorgeous. There's no place more beautiful than Greece, from the beaches, from the culture, all of it. But the people sometimes tend to kind of make it a little bit less savvy, right? It was the same thing down in Charleston. There's a little bit of a race problem still.
That's what a lot of people had said when I said I was going down there to visit. They said that. They said North Carolina, like Charlotte's very racist. I'm like, really?
Huge.
Really?
Huge. Yeah, for sure. But also in the same breath though, the places that have the majority amount of problems with race are also seem to be the same places that are integrating quicker, right? There's a lot more relationships that are integrated relationships, people of mixed race that are down there that are happy to be with one another, and I'm sure that they probably face a lot of issues. But the old school generation, which are slowly leaving us, just are very unforgiving.
They're set in their ways.
They're set in their ways, and they're set in their ways in a manner. And this is going back to the original part of the conversation. Just here, at least in New York, when somebody doesn't like you.
Yep.
In the South, they'll just say something like, "Oh, bless his heart," when they're trying to say, "What a fucking asshole." I'd much rather the latter.
Yeah, just let me know how it is.
Just let me know what it is.
Yeah, don't fluff me up. Just let me know how it is. Just don't. If you don't fuck with me, it's cool. Just don't pretend. That's cool.
Yeah.
We don't have to hang out.
No,
There's
not
plenty
at
of
all.
people. It's one less person I got to send a happy birthday text to. We're good. Don't worry about it.
We can unfollow each other on it.
Yeah, we can. The whole point of this whole thing.
Yeah.
We can unfollow each other. And on that note, everybody, welcome Constantine to the podcast. Imagine that was the whole arc of everything.
That was the intro.
That would be phenomenal. Well, first and foremost, we're getting into a little bit about you, but I did want to thank you for coming down and hanging out with me. You're the fucking man, and I love that we have this bond through OG, going and training and doing our thing, and it's pretty cool because when you start doing more camaraderie type activities and sports and events, you get to meet some really cool people. I mean, for me, I was a bodybuilding guy. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about it. I was a bodybuilding guy. So, you can train with people, but it's really a you sport. It's really it's just you doing your damn thing and that's it. But when you have like an OG or a group fitness type of class or event like Hyrox, it creates this team event and you get really amped up to like champion one another or champion the people from your gym. It's like going to, I was talking about this with my boy Nick, who works a lot with the fighters for PT and physical therapy. It's like the tribal effect of MMA gyms. So like all the dudes at Sarah's will go out when one of our guys is fighting or doing a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yep.
We'll all go out and support that guy. Just like all the people at Win-Jitsu down on the South Shore or Soka or Long Island MMA, when they have their guy going in, everybody goes out to champion that one person. It's really cool.
It is cool.
So it's cool when you get to see all these different people.
I love that you made the connection and you instantly went from Hyrox to combat sports, right? Whether it's jiu-jitsu or it's MMA or or even more specialized Muay Thai, like that sort of stuff. And I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. I'll be honest with you. That's like my passion, kind of like in the background, right? I follow every single fighter. I follow every single fighter as much as I possibly can, and I do really enjoy it. But the similarities have come to me, often, right? And I find that the fitness modality doesn't really matter. It's like old school karate tournaments, right? Where you have like Cobra Kai, you got the you know what I'm saying, like the Daniel-san, like Miyagi-Do karate. Let's go. So whether it's Tiger Schulman or any of these other guys, right? So,
which surprisingly, Tiger Schulman at the last fight at the Space in Westbury had a ton of fighters.
Really?
Ton. I was like, Tiger Schulman, really?
I did. Yeah, I was I mentioned it as a joke because
wouldn't think it, but they had a ton of fighters. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. But you saw a lot of that. You saw Law, MMA, and Law.
It has that same kind of feel, right? Like where it's like I equate it like this. The modality, right, which is, let's say, MMA, right? And then there's the UFC, right? For Hyrox is the UFC, right? And then the modality can be however you decide to train for it, right? So there's a lot of guys out there that are training CrossFit. There's a lot of guys out there, and ladies, obviously, that are training for interval style weight training. OG style,
Yeah.
They got their own style for sure, right? And there's other functional fitness gyms that will train. There's Orange Theory that focuses a lot on, that cardiovascular stuff without a whole lot of like the strength training. But they all come together to test their fitness at this one event. Now,
and that event is Hyrox.
It's Hyrox, exactly.
And so
they're the UFC, and that happened probably just because of how well organized it is, and the branding, and the actual, like, I say spectacle not in a negative way, but just like from a production perspective, the value of that production is so huge, and it's fun to be there. And obviously, all the communities come together there. But it's the same thing. Like, you see the Cobra Kai's coming into the room. They all got the same shirts on and stuff, right? Like the last event that we had in June in New York, everybody from, I think we had 40 people that raced from OG, which was really amazing. And shout out to those guys for putting together.
And they have the event on Sunday. They have all the events on Sunday that they do the Hyrox training specifically for
Saturdays.
Is it Saturdays or Sundays?
Saturdays.
Okay, Saturdays.
Yeah, so they do it on Saturdays, and they also have their strong classes where you can go. And I know that Taylor will absolutely he'll come.
Big Taylor.
Program with you. Yeah, first of all, I haven't met one person in that community that I can say anything bad about.
Yeah.
Not one, but I don't mean just from ownership. I mean everybody, right? But Lenny, Coach Ev, Taylor, Kim, all of them. I mentioned them down the line. Unbelievable human beings, and I'm so happy to know them. They have such a great first and foremost, they have such a great idea that they move through their plan with, and everything, even though it may seem like it just happens, nothing is by mistake there. Everything is by design, but it's done in a way that's so casual, right? That it's a natural progression through living with what they do and learning what it is that they do. And I love learning from people like that. I'm a trainer myself, and I train at a gym. Shout out to everybody over at Active Movement Performance, AMP in Amityville. I love those guys. Those guys are my family first and foremost. And I've been with them for 3 years now, basically since the beginning of my journey into fitness. And they're the best. But when it comes to my Hyrox training, I have to say that being at OG and being surrounded by that community has pushed me to limits beyond my own fitness that I ever could have known. And it's all due to how they softly kind of like shuttle you through that process. It may not seem that way when you're in the class, because those classes you've taken them, man, they're tough.
Yeah.
They're tough, but that process all the way through is so seamless, and it's so nice. In the community, the way that they've developed it is unbelievable. It's something that people should definitely look at. There's going to be classes taught on how they're doing what they're doing at some point. I can tell you that for sure.
It's nice to do functional training. That's really what the switch that I've had. Mm-hmm. And it actually started before OG. It started with my boy Tom. Mm-hmm. My boy Tom DeJulie. I don't know if you ever seen Tom.
Yeah, and I was actually going to mention Tom earlier.
Tom's a scary.
You can have people training with just kettlebells and landmines, and they can also become elite Hyrox athletes.
Tom's a scary motherfucker. That dude has no off button. It is so scary.
All gas.
Oh my God. Every day he lives and breathes it. And it's just
he's like that in real life.
Oh, yeah.
He before he opened up it's a Strength
Factory.
Yeah. So before he opened up the Strength Factory, he actually had a weekly class at AMP at the gym that I train out of. And that was when I first met him. Unbelievable. The way that our clientele and our members went just got behind that whole program just because of his enthusiasm.
The landmine stuff, or did he do the
it was
base?
all landmine stuff at the time.
Landmine University.
Landmine University, that's right. And I think that he was just kind of going through that process himself. And then, he figured out, his style as far as the program is concerned. And I love what he's created over at Strength Factory.
Oh, yeah.
Just very similar to like OG, where they're just like creating savages.
I've told him I need him to have a gym that's 4 times the size of Strength Factory because I know he needs more space.
He does need more space, but at the same time, I think more people need to also fall in line with that modality, and it's something that with more space comes more rent.
Yeah, of course. I know.
Really,
the overhead. The overhead's tough.
But I can see that modality living together in another area, right? Like, let's say, for example, there was a kind of like a cohabitating space that had a jiu-jitsu studio in it, that had a functional, fitness, program involved, and also had a Strength Factory kind of thing. I think all those can really live together as well. Now I don't, that would take a lot of collaboration, and that's a problem in our industry, is that there's not enough collaboration.
Yeah, the problem is that there's not enough, and it happens in the creative space too. Mm-hmm. Everybody's worried that everyone's going to step on each other's toes. That's really what happens. And
I wish it was that.
Well, for creatives and stuff like that, I can see this as gym owners too, though. Just being around a lot of gym people.
People just want to be top billed.
Exactly. They want to be the top dog. They want to be the one that makes all the decisions and all this. It's like you can't. No. And I've told clients this before too. When I shoot videos with clients and we're doing a project together, and they go, "How long should this video be?" And I go, "Well, based on what I believe and what the algorithm says and what people's attention spans warrant."
Which is why you hired me.
Exactly.
My experience.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. This video should be X amount length.
Right.
And then I'll send the video to them when it's finished. And this just happened recently. And it's nothing against this person. It's just the understanding of like, and I had to remind them, this is a collaboration between us. This isn't just like, you tell me what to do. Like, that's not how this works. This is us working together to create a product. Mm-hmm. Because I've worked with a lot of companies. I've worked with a lot of athletes. I've heard from the top dogs about what works, what doesn't. And I'm able to help you at the mid to lower level. Not to say that this person's a low level. It's just going from like a Monster Energy. The millions of dollars a year. This is what's working for them on large scale.
I applaud you for even being able to balance that, because the truth is, I've never been able to understand that. The same company that does the marketing or does content creation now, right? New marketing for big companies like a Coca-Cola, for example, right? How can you say to a company that isn't Coca-Cola, right? That's a little bit further down the list. How can you say, if Coca-Cola is $1 million of my creativity, how can you say, I can give you $500,000 of my creativity or $500 of my creativity? How do you scale creativity in that sense? If you're creative, you're creative.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way of like holding back. I'm going to do better work for these guys just because they spend more money. Mm-hmm. That balance is wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to is just like working within budgets, and like I can't do everything. Mm-hmm. So it's like when I have
what goes first when the budget drops.
It depends. It depends on what's needed. It depends on what the job is. Is the job tutorial videos? Is the job a campaign for a product? Is it oh, well, you can't pay X amount for this. Well, we don't have any money for VFX. We can't hire somebody to do extra stuff.
Or talent for that.
Exactly. We can't have models come in. We can't have, the unfortunate side of what I do, and the fortunate side is that I'm able to bundle a lot of jobs into one. I mean, when you think about it, what I do used to be, and I've said this numerous times, what I do used to be 10 to 15 jobs. Mm-hmm. But now it's all wrapped into one. Now, the issue, though, that you run into is I can only be good at so much. Like truly really good at so much. I can't be the best at everything. No one is. So like I can't be the best editor and the best shooter and the best photographer and the best drone operator and the best colorist and the best sound designer.
And also find copy too at the same time. Yeah.
There's just too many hats to wear. So some things get sacrificed. And sacrifice doesn't mean that it's shit product or that it's going to be, something that's bad. It just means that there's only so much that I've been able to teach myself or do that I only have this much to offer. So I have to work within the means of that. And because projects come so frequently, the balance of work, gym, life, relaxation, dog, family, things start to like peak out, and there's only so much that you can do. So you have to
still trying to manage that.
And you know what? We're
life balance.
We're always going to be, because we're never going to feel like there's enough hours in the day, and we're always going to feel like there's more that needs to be done no matter what. There's another client that needs a video clip. There's another person that is waiting for an estimate from me. There's another podcast that I have to export and chop up. There's laundry. There's house stuff. There's life.
Yeah.
And so
you want to try and give all of those things the same amount of.
I want to give 300% to everything, but I can't. So I think what winds up being like, let's go back to like a budget standpoint. When someone has a client that pays X amount on the large scale, I think that they just know that what their product they're going to get. There's not much back and forth. It's like they're going to get photos and videos of X amount of content per month, and that's what they're expecting, and that's what they get. And they're happy with that.
Yeah.
But the client that comes in and says, well, I have a brand that I'm starting and this and that, there's a lot more hand-holding, which in turn you have to kind of be okay with, but you have to be able to just go, listen, there's a lot more content strategy that I have to do with you. There's a lot more planning. There's a lot more things that are going to chip away at this. But I also don't try. It's tough because it's business, but I try not to be a stickler too. Yeah. So like if we go over an hour on time, just kind of like sometimes you're just like, okay, I work with people. Like I'm not.
A lot of the bigger companies that do though, and they charge a good amount of money for anything over.
Oh yeah. There's no. There's sticklers. I mean, but that's the point where you have to think about, like, are you just getting dollar signs? Are you trying to cultivate relationships? Are you trying to be a good person, or are you getting taken advantage of?
You also don't know, especially with some of these like smaller companies, where they're going to end up, and you kind of want to be in the right place at the right time. With some of that as well. A lot going back to Hyrox as well. It's kind of how I got involved with that. Outside of being interested in the event myself, and I was interested originally, actually, it was more a business decision than anything else. I wanted a different way to be able to engage with my clients. And one way that I found was if I can get a goal in front of a lot of them, the ones that wanted and were curious to test their own, fitness, the ones that I'd been with for a long period of time, I knew that they could do this event because it's built for everyone. It's not like CrossFit in the sense where you need years of training to get to a proper clean or snatch, right? Like those are skills that require a lot of time to develop. If you have a decent enough fitness level, lunges everybody can do, wall balls everybody can do, pushing heavy weight, pulling heavy weight, rowers, ski ergs, burpees, broad jumps, those sort of things, mostly everybody can do. To the degree that they can do them is really just what their fitness level is, right? So there's some people that are going to finish in an hour. There's some people going to finish in an hour and a half. Some people that can go 2+ hours to finish the actual event. The average is somewhere around like an hour and a half for most people. The elite people are doing it in under 60 minutes. The top female can complete it and has Megan Jacoby. She holds the record right now, 58 minutes, 58 seconds.
Okay, so let's backtrack.
Yeah.
So Hyrox, is every workout different every time you do it?
It's the same events, the same 8 events with a kilometer run between each one. So you start with a kilometer run, then you go right into the ski erg for 1,000 meters. Another kilometer run, you come back, you go right into one of the toughest stations of the event, which is the sled push. Now, if you're in the open level or if you're in the pro category, the weight can be a little bit different, but the distances are the same for that, right? Which is 50, right? 50 meters. So everything is kind of like European has started in Germany. So you're looking at a meter to a yard, roughly about the same, about half a football field, right? pushing heavy weight. Same with the sled pull as well, right? Which comes next after that. And then you go into burpee broad jumps, you go into the rower, lunges, farmer's carries and lunges. And then finally with the wall balls, when you finish, it's 100 wall balls, right?
Fucking hate wall balls.
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough. I mean, you'd have to do 100 squats and 100 thrusters basically, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's not like you're doing it with super heavy dumbbells.
No, it doesn't matter though. It wears on you, hip flexors.
Not only does it
And it's at the end of the event.
It's the end of the event. It's the last thing that you do before you cross the finish line, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to do them unbroken, even though some people do. It's a matter of, it's a timed event. So the person who wins is the person that does it in the fastest time.
Yeah, the fastest amount of time.
So the events don't change, and I don't ever foresee them changing.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So it's just the same thing every single event.
Exactly. It's those 8 events. It's those 8 stations, and why people continue, I think, to do them often, even though it's the same exact event every single time. So is the marathon, right? It's the same. It's 26.2 miles, no matter where you do it. Some events might be a little bit more hilly. Some might be a little bit more flat. Some you're closer to the coast. Some you're more inlet. What matters and what changes, in that is your strategy. So many things can go wrong, right? Half of the actual event is running, right? So there's 16 exercises that you do. 8 of those are all running. So you have to have a really decent running base in order to be able to do it. But anything can go wrong during any of that time. And I'll give you an example of my first race. I'm not a naturally gifted runner. Never have been, right? You can see I'm, 5'9" at best. I'm built like a mini gorilla. Like I have thick, thighs, and so I'm not like lean, and I don't gazelle myself through runs, right? I look like, you ever see Yoel Romero run?
Nah.
First of all, he's got a fusion in his spine, so he kind of like runs like a robot, but he's just like this thick piece of meat that's just like running down the road. It's not pretty, right? But a lot of really successful people in Hyrox have a good running base, and for me, I knew that a lot of the strength stuff was gonna come a little bit easier, right? The sled push was definitely one of the things that I knew that I could crush. My first event, I did that in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which is like very good. But my next run after that, trying to use your legs in that capacity,
you're pumped up, and the lactic acid that you have after that is
so if you don't
engorging your legs.
Exactly. So if you don't train your legs to do that, in the off season while you're training to get ready for these events, and that means doing exactly that, doing something that requires you to get that pump and then quickly, immediately go into
no rest, go right
into a 400-meter run or a 200-meter run. Just so that your body can feel it. Because the last time that you want to feel that is on race day. You don't want to shock your body like that. And even if your next run is equivalent to your first run, because remember, the sled push is just the second station.
Yeah.
You're going to feel it 5-6 stations down the line. It's going to catch up on you, whether it's the burpee broad jumps or the lunges. It's going to catch up to you eventually at some point. So strategy is very, very important in that, and how you actually pace yourself through the event. So there are some little tricks here and there as far as like, getting through some different things. And there are a lot of rules too from Hyrox that don't allow you to do certain things.
Such as?
You have to, hit your knee down at every single lunge. It's not one of, and this is obviously.
You mean the knee has to tap the ground?
It has to tap the floor on every single lunge, right?
And do you have judges following each person?
You do. It's not a perfect science, just like most events that have thousands of people that join. Like the one in Birmingham just recently out in the UK was like 6,000 people. I don't think you can have enough judges to kind of get everything done as accurately as possible, but not everybody is racing for money. The elite people are, for sure. But most everybody else, like, not everybody gets $150,000 to race at the New York City Marathon.
Well, what happens?
Like Kipchoge does.
Well, what happens with like the top guys? Like, is there ever a tie? Do they ever come in like the same times?
I haven't seen a tie just yet.
Okay.
I have seen guys get passed, at the finish line, like literally coming in second, and then all of a sudden being fourth because two people, just because they didn't pay enough attention. A lot of people will mess this up, right? Because the wall balls are the last station, so you think once you're done with the wall balls, you're done. But you have a timer, a tracker, that's around your ankle, and you got to make sure that you hustle from that station to the finish line, right? And that's where it ends. It doesn't end with your 100th wall ball.
Oh, that's cool. So it's got a little time tracker that stays on you, and then right when you cross a line, it
100%.
stops it.
It's actually one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's cool. Instead of having somebody sit there with like an inaccurate stopwatch.
Well, they do for the wall balls, right? So if you're sitting there, you have a judge that's counting every single one of your wall balls, and hopefully you're not no repping on any of them, because you don't want to do any more than 100 if you have to do 100. The girls for the open is 75. It's 100 for the guys. But the tracker, and what makes it amazing is that it tracks every single one of your runs. So it tells you exactly, what your 1,000-meter effort or your kilometer effort is for each one. It also tells you your time inside what they call the rock zone. So the track is all outside the actual event area, and you run around that. In most places, it's 2 laps to get to the 1,000 meters. In New York was a smaller space. We were actually at the Meadowlands, where a little convention center next door to where like the Giants play. And that was a little bit smaller venue, so there was 4 laps for that one. Now it gets a little bit tricky, but it tracks your time on those. It tracks your time in the rock zone, right? Going from station 1, station 2, station 3. So you want to always make sure it's a timed event. You got to hustle to those stations. You can't be spending too much time in that rock zone, just kind of like dilly-dallying, right? Like. So you have to use your first event, I think, as a way to manage and understand how you're getting around the landscape, right? See how the race actually goes. Most people are usually around up to 10 minutes off from what their capacity is on their first race, just because they're figuring everything out.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with me too. When I did my first one, I didn't know how hard to go on the sled push. I just went all out. And I paid the price for it afterwards.
Was that your first one trying it, and then you were a part of the team for Hyrox, or you were already part of the team and you said, let me just give it a shot and try one?
I didn't become a part of the Hyrox team until very recently, actually, in the last couple of months. And that process happened just from being able to meet everybody. I started a little podcast where I was interviewing the elite athletes from Hyrox. I was very interested to hear from them, and there wasn't anything really like that was happening on the East Coast. There are some things, obviously, that are happening. Colorado is huge. Even California is huge. A lot more like outdoor, kind of areas where people are more into, and a lot of the transfers, people coming from OCR, obstacle course racing.
Okay.
Which I've never been into myself, to be honest.
Spartan races?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in
So Rain did an event at one of the Spartan races, and we saw... we were there the day before, and all the athletes went around the course and just did like some of the pinnacle areas of the course, like the mud pit and this and that, and then the electric fence, the dangling things at the end.
I'm like,
fuck is this, bro?
Yeah, I don't want to roll around in the mud.
Everyone's laughing. I'm like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like just I got to run through this and get shocked.
People love it.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
I'm good on that.
I like fitness events, and look, there's some people that look at fitness events and are like, I don't see fitness as
look at these nut jobs doing fitness.
Yeah, like fitness is not a sport.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a sport, or they think that. I do find it when you're actually at the Hyrox event and there are spectators. I do see a lot of people that are there. They're just cheering everybody on. I'm like, this is so weird. Everyone's cheering me on for working out.
Yeah.
Because it's a workout. You're going through a workout.
Well, then again, you have mad people cheering on Joey Chestnut as he's just taking down those glizzies, man.
Yeah,
you just gotta.
That's a fact.
I guess the working out part makes a little bit more sense when you think of it like that.
People like to watch other people do fantastic things. And it doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's, bungee jumping or a crazy fitness event like this, or, throwing spears at a Spartan race. I think people just like watching people do fantastic things. And I think that's why the CrossFit Games became, so popular and so huge.
CrossFit Games are interesting to me.
It's different. It's different than Hyrox in the sense where CrossFit as a modality came first.
Yeah.
Right? As a system, it came first, and then the CrossFit Games came after that, and it was a great way to kind of like tie everything together and to actually test and see what all the different quote-unquote dojos were doing, and who was the best. Everybody wants to know who's the best. It's the same thing with like UFC. You have all these like trainers, and in those training camps, you have 5, 6, 7, 8, a dozen fighters, and then they all, are either going to be fighting for the UFC, specifically they have a contract, or they might go to other lesser events, Bellator and things like that. The hybrid fitness race community has other sports. Conor McGregor just came out with one, right? It's called the McGregor 3K, I think it's called. Don't quote me on that. but he's he's in the game as well, and it's through I guess a company that he started a while back called McGregor Fast, which was kind of like his fitness app, I guess you want to call it.
Yeah, McGregor Fast 3KO.
Yep, 3KO.
The world's most notorious fitness competition in the world.
Yeah, which it's notorious, and it hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe it happened recently.
First timers, champions, and everyone in between. Wow, so inclusive.
Yeah, so there's other guys. Even Spartan. Spartan has come up with an event as well called DECA that's very similar to Hyrox in the sense that it's traditional hybrid fitness as opposed to obstacle course racing, right? And DECA, instead of being 8 different stations, is actually 10 with a run in between each one. And now they have 3 different events that feed off that. You can do the DECA Fit, which is kind of like a 5K in total. So 500 meters of running in between.
Y'all be throwing me off with all these Ks, man.
Yeah.
I need miles.
Yeah.
Y'all be throwing me off with all these Ks.
Well, 1,000 meters is 0.62 miles.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe you can base it off that, but they all go off of K. Running has always done that, you know. But and then they also have the DECA Mile, which is a 0.1 mile for each one, right? Times that by 10 stations, you get a mile.
There you go.
Then there's the DECA Strong, which has no running in it at all. It's just the strength components, right? But there are some, there's the bike on there and stuff.
I should do that. I should do that. I should do the strong.
You should.
No running.
You don't run at all?
No. I run hitting in and out.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I mean I since I joined OG and I started dropping weight, I mean I've been able to do more because
it's amazing what you can do with 20 less pounds on your body, right?
20
more.
I was 230 in March. I'm 188 now.
That's impressive.
Yeah, but a lot of people go, "Oh, OG." I'm like, without question, OG helped, and they started me off, and I did a lot. But it's nutrition, and it was the jiu-jitsu.
You know what OG does? Oh, yeah, we'll get into it.
I'm telling you, man.
I want to hear about all that.
The grappling.
Yeah. You just sweat.
Dude,
Yeah.
the first couple times, man, you start to really get in the trenches. Jocko, you see all these videos on Instagram, these cool badass compilations of dudes just manhandling each other, and like you're just like, okay, it looks dope, and you see Jocko go, oh yeah, swimming with sharks out here, and you go, all right, no. Now I say that I go going to the Shark Tank because it's just a collective group of bad motherfuckers across the pendulum. I mean, it's just across the plane. It's just like dudes that are just super strong, dudes that are really athletic, dudes that are D1 wrestlers, dudes that have been doing jiu-jitsu for years and years and years, and just they're just chilling and just like twisting you around. You're like, what how do I get there? And they're just like, okay, whatever. They almost look like they're just like sleeping and doing the moves. You're going
talking about strategy and pace.
Okay,
a whole lot of patience with that.
A lot of patience, and as a white belt, as you start to progress, you slow down. It's weird. Like when I first went in. It was all about strength for me. I didn't know, and they said that that's what's going to happen. I have really good grip strength, amazing grip strength. I've always deadlifted without wraps. I've always super tight grips on everything that I've done. So it's like, for the first couple of weeks there, I mean, I would grab onto dudes' gis and they wouldn't be able to get away from me, even higher belts. But then they'd start putting me in different moves. I'd extend my arm too far.
You only do gi?
No, I do no gi too.
You do?
Yeah, I do no gi too. But what happens at Serra's is, you technically have to do the fundamentals class. So if you're a white belt, fundamentals class is the only class you can go to except the mixed class too. They don't say it explicitly, but you're not going to get ranked up as fast if you just go to the mixed class. They want to see you at the fun. Like I talk to Matt all the time. Matt and I have become very close. He's super dope.
So he's still involved.
Oh, he's there. Like
really?
he'll see me. He'll walk by. He'll go, Nicky Rizzle's on the fucking mats. Let's go. We love jiu-jitsu. Like
he was on Rogan just recently, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's
such a character.
Exactly how he was on Rogan is exactly how he is as a person. He's amazing.
Amazing.
He really is. He
Funny guy.
You know what? You talk about people and their passions. He loves jiu-jitsu and he loves teaching people and showing people the way. He really he calls all of his black belts Jedis. So they're like Jedi Joan, Jedi Manny, like all these guys that are his black belts under Sarah, he calls them Jedis. So he really is like Yoda. He's like the sensei. He's the guy.
But is it only grappling and jiu-jitsu with them? Or
no, they do Muay Thai.
Yeah.
They do box. I think they have a boxing class too. This dude Beethoven, who Unbelievable human being. We call him Beethoven because he's deaf.
Okay.
We call him Beethoven Grapple. He's unbelievable. He does the wrestling class because he was a wrestler his whole life, and he's unbelievable.
Wrestlers in jiu-jitsu are scary.
Well, that was my first. I've never wrestled, so my first experiences with going up against wrestlers was at Sarah's. And listen, I knew what was going to happen. I knew that I was going to get my ass kicked. I knew that I was going to have to shrink myself a little bit because this is a new world for me. And bodybuilding.
What a great place to be, though, right? Like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, when you I don't mean just like that place, but I mean what a great place to be, starting from the bottom again. And learning like from these amazing human beings, but also savages, people that can literally yoke you up.
Oh yeah, and you know it's tough sometimes because you know the testosterone's flowing in the veins. You catch yourself going, oh no, I'm not letting this motherfucker get me, and you just go, nope, chill. Like this is how you get hurt. This is how you fuck yourself up. Just relax.
Easy to get hurt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's cool, bro.
Never tried it.
Guess what? Tap, and you get out of it, and we start fresh.
Please tap.
So please tap.
Yeah.
Because I made the mistake only once. Nothing happened bad, but it was just like.
But it can very easily.
Yeah, he was just in. He sunk in me quick, and I should have tapped earlier, but I sat there and I went, nah, I got this shit. I said, I'm gonna get out of this, and he just clamped down even harder, and it was like a cross face. It was more like a crank than a choke, and my whole jaw was like getting pushed out, and I said, okay, take it.
How Khabib got McGregor.
Yeah.
In that last
very smushed in and cranked.
Didn't have the neck at all. It was just in the face.
And it's tough, man, because you know everything's getting pushed back. Mm-hmm. And since starting, I've gotten sore in so many areas that I've never been sore in my life before. Yeah. Like my toes, my neck, because dudes are constantly clamping on the back of your neck and trying to break your posture down, especially your no gi.
Okay.
Because they don't grab the gi to pull you down. Yeah. They grab the back of your neck wrestling style. So they try to cup your neck and
there's also techniques too where you can not, you know, it's easy to imagine yourself, and I was just either watching a podcast about this or read it somewhere, but there's one thing where you can use somebody's gi against them.
Oh yeah, you could choke them with your own gi.
Right.
With their own gi,
With their own gi.
It's crazy.
But the part that actually I think is even better than that is the guys that use their gi.
Oh yeah, to choke them.
Against somebody else, where they want you to pull on it, right? Mm-hmm. So that they can then kind of wrap you up in it. And I've seen guys in a way that kind of like get into these wild positions.
Yeah, you got to watch motherfuckers. They're sneaky with it too.
Sneaky.
They'll like dudes that know what they're doing. They'll bait you.
They'll bait, like they'll be like, go ahead, grab.
A lot of dudes like I mean, everybody that knows jiu-jitsu knows Gordon Ryan.
Of course,
Gordon Ryan's the king.
I think that if you don't know jiu-jitsu,
yeah, Gordon Ryan's the king of grappling. I mean, you know, PED or not, he talks openly about it.
They his coach,
dude. Danaher. Yeah, John is unbelievable. I mean, I would love to go to Roca, I think it's the name of their gym that they train at in Austin, Texas. But I got a ways to go. I got a ways to go before I go.
Train with Donner?
Just to train. Yeah. I still got a ways to go. I still like to get a blue belt, and then I can start feeling a little more confident like that. But even still, I still won't know anything comparatively.
I just realized recently how young Gordon is.
Yeah, but he looks old because he's on the PEDs, and he's also he dyes the beard white. Bleach white.
Yeah, but it looks cool.
It looks cool. It looks like a young Santa.
Well, I think he looks more like a James Bond villain.
Oh, yeah, he does look like a James Bond villain.
Like just this stoic face with like this blonde and beard.
And he'll go like this. A lot of times, like the wrestlers and the dudes that are bait you and they know what they're doing, they'll go like this, and they'll make you look down at that hand, and that's when they grab you with the other one. And you just because your primate brain is so triggered that there's an attacker and someone in front of you that you want to focus on everything they're doing. So if they try to get your attention over there, you have to snap. You look quick, but you have to snap yourself out of doing that, and you have to just keep that eye contact. So like when we clinch up, and I grab the back of the neck, and they grab the back of my neck, and we're both fighting for inside control of the arms. You know, if I see that arm come in, I'm stuffing that arm. So now I have the person like this, and it's like, okay, what are we doing? What move are we going to do? And usually you have to try to break them down, get into a guillotine, something. But my neck started having problems. And then when I was rolling 4 or 5 days a week, when I first started, I was doing OG every morning at 6 a.m. I was rolling midday or at 6 o'clock at night at Sarah's. My ears started having issues. I started getting the ear.
No shit.
Yeah, because I was rolling
cauliflower ear.
Yeah, and evidently it's genetic. That's from what people have told me, because there are people that have grappled for years and years and years and never get it. Even Evan, I think he said he grappled a little bit when he was younger. He's like, I used to try to give myself cauliflower ear. I'm like, bro, my shit already started, and it was crazy. I mean, it's not, you can't tell now because I let it heal. So basically,
Oh, okay. So it's just
I don't know if you can see, like, it's a little bit puffy in here versus in here.
Bad reference. I don't know what it looked like before.
Yeah, well, it's more. What happens is the ear fills with fluid, so you have all these capillaries in the ear.
Oh, it's not scar tissue.
It is and it isn't. So mostly what happens with white belts is they pull their heads out of chokes. Now, I never did that. I always knew that if I got put into a choke, you have to work your way out of it, and then once there's ample room, you can move the head out.
Got you.
But dudes that are pulling their heads out and they're crunching the ear back and forth, that's what happens. So it doesn't just happen where, you crunch the ear and then all of a sudden you have cauliflower ear. You crunch it a bunch of times and it starts to get achy. So I would sleep. I'd lay down on the pillow and I'd be like this. I'd be like, oh God, my ear is so achy and itchy and red. It was burning red the whole time.
The inflammation is so hard.
And then all of a sudden my boy got me in a guillotine. And as he put me in the guillotine under his armpit, and he sat back, I guess he caught my ear kind of halfway, and I felt it go crunch, and I went, oh, is that it? And then it was super puffy on the inside.
Started to build up.
If I didn't ice it and rest and not allow it to just heal a little bit, if I had that happen one more time, what happens is the capillaries lose blood flow, and then the blood surges into the ear. And if you don't drain the ears, that's how it solidifies, and it stays like that then. That's how you don't get it back.
Listen, I, for one, am very happy that happens to elite fighters because it gives me the signal, don't fuck with this guy. I know.
Yeah, but I'm still not good at jiu-jitsu yet, so it's like if I got the ear and I wasn't good at it.
But that's the thing is that, like, these guys that are, like, very good, they don't get cauliflower ear. You'd never know. But
you'd never know.
If I see cauliflower ear, yes, sir.
Yeah, I was fighting it in the beginning, and I was like all weirded out by it. I was like, oh, I hope I don't get it. I hope I don't get it. Now it's kind of like, it's weird how it's transitioned a little bit. I'm like, kind of wouldn't mind it getting a little worse. Like, it'd be kind of cool.
It's a look.
Yeah, it's a look. But in all seriousness, it's been a very amazing mental and physical
things like jiu-jitsu and what you're explaining right now, and I'm going to bring it back to OG where we started this conversation.
Yeah, and Hyrox.
And I do love talking about OG. I love those guys so much. They have to know that. The way that they've built out what they're doing there, it promotes consistency. And I think that's why, you're experiencing what you're experiencing with, some of this like loss in the excess fat that you had or getting leaner and going all the time. The jiu-jitsu, I'm sure, has definitely helped too, because that's another sport that promotes consistency.
Oh yeah, when you don't go at least 3 to 4 days a week. I was just having this conversation with my buddy.
Like that.
You get rusty.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're getting flipped every round. You're like, holy shit, what is going on?
Well, you start to lose a little bit of the intimidation, right? That ring rust that everybody kind of talks about, right? And the longer you're out of the ring, the longer that you're out of, that modality, then you still have to get comfortable when you get back in again.
Yeah.
And you don't want to spend, way too much time away from it. I feel the same way, about, OG. It actually has been a long time since I've been back, and I definitely have to go and see those guys soon. We lost my mom recently, unfortunately.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's all good, man. She was battling Alzheimer's for years and years. So
it's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough disease. But I took the time that I needed to kind of like go through that process and stuff. So I definitely am ready to kind of hit the public again around the same time as when I started with Hyrox as well. And if you don't know, what I do with Hyrox is I manage a regional effort for our affiliate gym members, right? OG is an affiliate gym member here on Long Island. So whatever they need, I'm basically like a concierge to those guys. I help them. We'll do events. I help them from a customer service, perspective as well. Anything that they need, I'm their like local rep basically. And then any events like we're doing. Have you heard of Strong New York?
I have. I don't know much about it, but I've heard of it.
It's only their second year. It's coming up November 18th, and we're going to be there, with Hyrox, obviously. But Strong New York is a fitness and wellness expo. I think one of its only kind in New York. And it's slowly growing. They did it at the Chelsea Piers last year. They're doing it at the Glass House this year. Kenny Santucci out of the Strength Club in Manhattan. And they put on a really great event. They have speakers that come in and talk about different things that are upcoming in fitness and wellness. Some great like educational stuff, which is really, really cool. But all that community, it drives the one thing that's the most important for people, and the one thing that I think people struggle with the most, which is consistency, right? Like you want to be involved in it as much as possible. And it's a lifestyle change. I've spent almost my entire life, like 25 plus years in the restaurant business, connecting people through food and wine, right? The very first place that I opened up was a little wine bar down on the Lower East Side. I love wine. I still love wine to this day. I love it the same way somebody that loves any kind of collectible style item, right? Like baseball cards, for example. People like geek out on that. I geek out on wine. And the way that I found out about that was when I was doing some traveling when I was younger, in Europe especially, I met or was lucky enough to meet people from, these very prominent vineyards, like in the Piedmont region in Italy, for example. And there are these really wonderful, amazing farmers, right, that just make delicious wine and have been able to create a career out of that. Some are doing really, really well where they've been around for, like a few generations, so, hundreds of years. And some are new, just kind of like popping up a little bit more esoteric style.
Kind of like small batch.
Yeah, a little bit like small batch.
Small batch, homemade.
Yeah, not exactly out of a bathtub, but
no.
Yeah, their process is definitely that.
Yeah, sophisticated, but still on a small scale versus Pindar or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And at the time, and even New York wine at the time back then, because I opened up the wine bar in 2001, so this is a very long time ago. Our experience with wine here in New York, at the very least, was very snooty, right? A lot of men in bow ties and swirling wine and using these really crazy words and stuff. And it felt like an environment that I didn't belong in, right? I skateboarded, I had tattoos, I was a t-shirt and jeans guy with a, baseball cap on backwards. Greedy little like New York kid. I grew up listening to punk and rap, and that's all the influence that I had, and I loved it. Life couldn't have been any better. But when I found wine, I found it from people that were actually similar to me and less similar to the people that were peddling wine, here in New York at the time. They were farmers that also liked punk and rap and hip hop. They had tattoos and dirt under their fingernails, and I could relate to them. And I was like, oh, this is what this is, right? I'm going to go back to New York and I'm going to introduce wine in the way that I'm enjoying it with these people, which is a little bit more true to nature. And I think that other people will enjoy it as well. People that are more like me.
Yeah.
So I opened up a wine bar on the Lower East Side because that's all we can afford at the time. And we played punk and we played rap and hip hop and we served delicious wine and, little bites, like a small plates kind of like menu. And it went really, really well.
Was it a hit right out the gate, or did it take a little while to get that crowd in there?
Luckily, yes.
Oh, nice.
Luckily, yes. I was young enough to not understand that process as much. If I were to try and do something like that now, I would be very, very scared because there's no guarantee that you're going to be successful. But I think where we were and the uniqueness of the concept, because like I said, at the time, wine bars in the city were on the upper part of Manhattan, right? They were far away from the creatives. Only people that could afford wine, were really enjoying wine in a restaurant environment, right? But there are a bunch of esoteric style wines that people could enjoy. Now, connecting people through wine and food is no different than connecting people through fitness. And that's basically all I'm doing now, with Hyrox, just on that scale specifically for this event. It's just creating more awareness about this event. And one of the reasons why I'm happy to be on here and talking about it now, because I know that there's people that watch this that are constantly looking for different things to get involved with in this lifestyle. The club scene that we remember back in the day is gone.
Dead.
For people to get together as a community now, you have run clubs,
Yep.
You have events like Hyrox and things like that. You have the gym, luckily, which is great. And I'm so happy that people are more focused on their health and their wellness now, and recovery for that matter too. There's a big conversation now, obviously, about recovery, and that's huge, for people's wellness as well. And it's going to take a couple of cycles for people to be able to put all of those elements together, and eventually, I would too. My love for agriculture, for food, for the process of food, and creating awareness of that with wellness and fitness will eventually come together because that's just the interest that I have, and also my love of being able to introduce less availability in certain communities, right? Because there's food deserts out there everywhere. To the idea, if there's a lot of kids in New York, on Long Island, in Manhattan, and all the way around, that you can give them 4 or 5 vegetables and a piece of protein, whether it's chicken or a steak or whatever, and don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to process it. They don't know how to cook it. They don't know how to make it taste good and to enjoy it. And not that food has to be gourmet all the time for you to enjoy it.
But you need to know the basics.
You need to know the basics. You need to know temperatures. You need to understand that sort of thing. You need to know how to chop up, certain vegetables, and certain things have to be chopped up in certain ways.
I'm a fan of julienne cut.
Julienne is my favorite. That's where I've lost a lot of skin on my.
It's over.
Fingers. Yeah, for sure.
I picked up. I don't know if you see the blister on my finger.
Yep.
I picked up the pot last night. Dumb move. I put the pot. Side note, by the way. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I put the pot lid on the back burner, and I was getting everything ready and this and that. And I'm like looking in the pan. I'm like, why isn't everything sizzling? So I go to grab the lid. I had the burner on that the lid was on, not the burner on the pot.
Beautiful.
So I picked it up. It was a searing hot lid, and I just went, that's it. Lost the skin on that finger.
Listen,
it's over.
Shit like that comes all the time.
Yeah,
if you look at professional chefs who are cooking every single day and you raise their sleeves up, there are just oven marks of just scars on there.
Mandolin is always the creepiest thing for me. That thing is
some nightmares with the mandolin.
That thing is the creepiest thing to me. I would never be able to use it.
For the people that don't know what a mandolin is, by the way, it's basically just a razor sharp tool that you use very, very fast.
Oh God, it's the you just go.
It's a great piece of equipment.
Just get rid of your knuckles like that.
Yeah, but if you want to lose skin on your hands, that's the best way to do it.
It's the best way to do it.
That's the.
You want to get ready for a bank heist and you want to get rid of your fingerprints. It's a mandolin.
And the smallest cuts are the ones that bleed the most. And it's just like you can slice your finger with one of those things and it looks like murder. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
What was your favorite dish to make?
My very first dish I think that I was taught. My dad was a chef, which is why I think I'm a lot more comfortable in the kitchen than most people. But he taught me this one thing, and basically what he said was, if you learn how to make this, you're never going to go hungry. And he was 100% right. And the dish is actually, now that I think of it from a fitness perspective and a wellness perspective, it had the right components to it, right? Which was basically protein, carbs, and fats, and a little bit of vegetable.
He hit the macros right
He hit the macros right off the bat, and I don't think he even knew it, But that's just kind of like where he comes from. But it was basically just all in the same pot, a little bit of olive oil, obviously, Greek, garlic, also obvious, and just to kind of like flavor things up and just kind of let it saute down, just sweat the garlic in the olive oil. And then you add little chunks of chicken until they brown. And you can chop them up your own way, whatever. If you want to take a chicken breast or from chicken tenders or something like that, just kind of like chop them up in chunks and let them kind of like brown up and toss them in that. And you cook that. You're boiling a little bit of pasta on the side. Whether you pick your favorite pasta. Spaghetti.
What's your favorite type of noodle?
Honestly, I like the ribbon pasta the most. Right?
Okay.
Like what is it? Like a tagliatelle, I think, is one of my favorites. And one of those where you can just kind of like really kind of like spoon it up.
I'm a big fusilli guy.
Are you a fusilli?
Oh man, so there's something about those corkscrews, man.
I hate the ones like I hate penne.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say you hate.
I feel like I'm constantly chasing them.
Yeah, I hate penne.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say you hate fusilli. I was gonna be like, door's right there. Please, it's been a great episode.
I'm a fusilli fan.
Okay, good. Sure. Then we can have you still.
But yeah, so it was basically that, a little bit of broccoli. And just the olive oil, no sauce, no nothing, just an olive oil, garlic, pasta, and chicken dish with a little bit of broccoli.
I'm sure it slaps.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's fresh. You have it right on the spot. You could be eating seconds after it's done. You don't have to let it sit or anything like that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I hate about steak. Like I sit there and I wait. I'm just like sitting there, just like, how long do I let this rest? And I'm just like, after 30 seconds, I go, fuck it. I just start cutting into it.
That dish got me through college. That dish got me through, plenty of dates, growing up. When I couldn't afford to take somebody out to a nice restaurant, I'd be like, oh, come over, I'm going to make a delicious dish. And it would be that one, for sure. But yeah, it's my go-to. I don't make it anywhere near as much as I used to. I'm more of a ground beef and rice kind of guy now. But
yeah, man, it's like simplicity. It's like whatever.
Yeah. So I call my ground beef cereal. Just a bowl, cup of jasmine rice.
I'll tell you what's good, man. What I got on TikTok was, and it might seem like just regular to everybody, to other people, but you do brown rice. White rice. I'm sorry, brown rice is horrible.
I never do brown.
No, you do brown.
I can't process.
Ground beef, I meant, not brown rice.
Okay.
You do white rice, ground beef, I do mushrooms every now and then. I'll do some mushrooms in there, wild mushrooms.
I don't keep them in the house. My wife abhor like she.
Oh, she hates mushrooms.
Yeah.
I just got them from the grocery store, like the wild ones that has a bunch of different kinds in it.
Love
Super
mushrooms.
dope.
Yeah, yeah.
So you put all those.
Hen of the woods.
Head of the woods?
Yeah, hen.
Hen of the woods.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's just the type of mushroom.
That's the type of mushroom you like?
You should try it. Yeah, when you saute those down, a little salt and pepper, it's like eating a steak. They're so delicious.
I'm looking up hen of the woods for.
Yeah, they look really wild, but they're delicious, especially if you cook them the right way.
Well, I don't know if that was in there or not. It might have been in there.
You're not gonna find them. You might actually find them in Whole Foods.
Yeah, it was not in there.
Yeah, you're not gonna find it in a shop, right?
These guys?
Yeah.
So you do all that, and then you put 1 tablespoon or 2, I usually do 2, of the non-fat Greek yogurt. And it almost makes like a burrito bowl.
Oh, yeah.
That feels like
I can see that.
That feels like the sour cream in it.
Yeah. And yogurt is so interchangeable with like, especially like the complete fat-free, like the Greek, like
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yogurt.
I give it to my dog for the probiotics.
It replaces mayonnaise in any recipe that you can imagine. You can just add protein to it if you want to add.
Yeah, the protein powder, and then mix it all up, and it's the flavored protein powder now.
It's perfect. It's delicious.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my go-to is a bowl of jasmine rice, ground beef, and a couple of fried eggs if I'm feeling a little squirrely.
Yeah,
I
do
like the runny egg inside all that stick together.
Yeah, it's become more and more of a staple for me to have eggs like every day. I have at least 3 to 4 eggs, whole eggs every single day.
That's it.
Okay, that's it. Yeah,
I'm dead serious. Like I can eat a dozen eggs in a day.
Oh yeah, without question. Yeah, I see Taylor's stories.
Oh yeah.
You know what? His new nickname for me is Big Feta because he's got feta on everything now.
He's been liking the feta.
Yeah, so I call him Big Feta. So that's everything. Every time I hit him up,
You went from egg lord to the big feta.
yeah, Big Feta. Hold on, let me see.
I like that.
I gotta put him on. Hold on.
Yeah, the last person that you would expect ever to be enjoying feta as much as he does.
These are my voice notes to Taylor. Ready?
What up, Big Feta?
Big cheese.
Big
baby.
Feta. What up?
I love it, man.
He was really toasting the Hyrox, man.
He's doing fantastic, man. He's got the ability to do it. He has the discipline, in his training. He's not uniquely built for events like that. But when he really kind of started to pay attention to his running, I think we all saw, a huge transformation there for him. When I first met him, and it's kind of hard to tell with him, because he's such a solid piece of muscle, that guy, that like he leaned down a lot, but
he moves.
He kept a lot of that muscle, and I think that's all due to just his discipline with nutrition.
Yeah, he really is, and he knows his shit. It's funny because
For sure.
It's funny because when I went in there, I knew Evan, and then I was friends with Evan. And I told Taylor this too, and I used to see him in and out. I didn't really ever converse with him at first, so it was like
I was the exact opposite way.
Oh, you were with Taylor and you weren't with Evan?
Taylor was the first person that I met at OG, and just the one that I kind of like hit it off with. I never saw Evan only because he was there mostly in the early mornings. I think the schedule kind of like changed around a little bit, and he was there in the afternoons a little bit more, and I was able to see him. I have a trainer schedule, so for me it's like I'm working from early in the morning until about noon, and then after that it's basically just do what I want to do for myself during that time, and then it starts getting busy again anytime after like 3-4 o'clock. I changed my schedule around now just because of my responsibilities with Hyrox. I'm still training in the morning until like 11:30 or noon every day, and then after that it's basically just all Hyrox stuff.
It was funny because then I met Taylor, and I was like, yo, come on the pod. I would love to have you on. And he goes, okay. And then, everybody told me he's like the quiet one. He's not really going to talk much and this and that.
He was great on the podcast.
It was almost 3 hours. He was almost 3 hours on the podcast. He was fantastic.
Well, they both were actually. I watched the one with Evan as well, and I love that one especially because like you dug into some questions that I had. That like I was very curious to know what his background was, and some of the things that you don't feel very comfortable just asking people, in a gym environment, especially to the person who's training you. And I wanted to find out about his background. I wanted to find out the concept, idea behind OG. And I think that a lot of people still, maybe even the people that go there on a regular basis, there's something there. There's a magic there that's happening because those 3 guys came together and decided to do this at that time. And the support people that are around them that also help to develop this thing and give it that touch that it really has is something very unique. And a lot of things have to come together. All the stars have to align at the same time in order for that to happen. And it really did for them. I saw them when I started training there pretty early on, when I really wanted to do like the Hyrox stuff, and I've seen it grow from there. And one of the things that just by nature, I don't think that they promote it vocally, I think it's just the community does, is it creates that possibility for you to become better,
Yeah.
and everybody that's in there. And I can understand why somebody from the outside looking in, I know that they get a lot of shit, especially on the comments and Instagram and stuff, people saying, oh, it's like a cult over there and blah,
Oh, it's clicky. I say this all the time. It's clicky, and
Yeah.
it is.
But I can tell you one thing. Like I said earlier, there's not one person that I've met in that community. I mean, they are a magnet for awesome, awesome people. And everybody is just so welcoming, and they want to be pushed. They want to help to push you if that's what you need. They're an unbelievable community. They're doing great. So kudos to those guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it goes back to the tribalism effect that we talked about right when we started. They have their own tribe. That's what it comes down to. They all work together. They all support one another with the things that they're trying to do. But it's like the same thing. It's like Sarah's is clicky. And the spots that you go to, like all of these spots, Law MMA, Ray Longo and Chris Weidman's gym, Bev's, where I came from.
Yeah.
That gym is fucking clicky.
McGorry's, the pub.
What's that?
In Massapequa Park.
I was like, what is that?
Is clicky.
I was like, what gym is that?
It's not a gym. It's a crappy little bar.
The Beer Olympics.
Exactly. Every community has a clique. I'd much rather that clique than the clique where I'm having Jameson shots until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, man. I mean, I haven't had any alcohol since March now. I haven't had any alcohol since March. I gave up
Just
totally.
a choice, yeah?
Yeah, just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good on it.
I like it, man. I like a nice little cocktail every once in a while. I've never been the kind of person that went too deep into it.
I didn't either. I was never a drinker though.
Yeah.
I was never a big drinker. I liked whiskey. I did. I liked whiskey and this and that, but
I'm a bourbon guy myself.
yeah, you know what? After I like the Japanese whiskeys, and after a while, I just kind of said, you know what? It's not really doing anything for me. I'll have 1 or 2 drinks. I'm exhausted after I have 1 or 2 drinks, and then the next day I feel fuzzy and I'm feeling off.
Not only the next day. How old are you?
32.
32. Okay, so you got some time still, but I'm 49, and I can have 2 bourbons, which is not as many as I used to have.
Yeah.
And it'll last for days.
Those were the entrees.
Those
That was the appetizers before the entree.
Definitely appetizers. I was like in my restaurants, for example, like back in the day, like you got to remember too, like I opened up my first restaurant when smoking was still allowed in restaurants.
Okay.
That was 2001. It was only a couple of years later that it actually changed, and we all tried to fight it, right? Because I used to smoke some cigarettes myself back in the day for sure. And
Marlboro Man.
I was a Marlboro.
I knew it.
Red.
I knew it with an exquisite beard like that.
Oh yeah.
You had all the miles and everything.
I don't always smoke.
You had the miles from the packs. Did you have the jacket?
No.
Okay.
I collected that stuff. I'm a city boy.
Yeah, you're a transplant Southerner.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, so I didn't get into like the NASCAR jacket Marlboro thing, no. But and for a while I tried American Spirits too.
There you go.
They were good for you cigarettes.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
Complete bullshit. But yeah, I was like Dean Martin, man. I'd always have a bourbon in one hand or a glass of wine in one hand, and usually a cigarette in the other. And I'm happy that those days are gone.
I find that there's a big movement on people being more sober now with everything.
Everything. I think people are focusing a little bit more on stuff. Habits, I think, like drugs, for example, right? Like hallucinogens and things like that, or even like THC or CBD for that matter, without the THC, things that somehow bring a benefit to their life and serve them a little bit better. But I just found that like that kind of lifestyle just didn't serve me. It doesn't serve me anymore. The second that I have like a couple of cocktails, I know for a fact, it's the same thing with pizza too. I know that I'm gonna feel like crap for at least the next couple of days, and I just don't have the time to feel like crap. I need to go. My schedule is busy just like anybody else's. I don't have time to play the hangover role. Yeah. I can't today.
Yeah, I can't get shit done because I have to sleep it off.
No, man, I'm up at 4 a.m. every day. My first client is usually in your time between 4:30 and 5. So I mean, I gotta be ready to go.
Yeah.
My wife makes fun of me because usually by like 8:45, I'm like, is it bedtime yet?
Well, that's and that's what I've found happens since I started waking up at 4:45 or 5 a.m. and I started doing these early morning things, I start looking at time so differently because I'll look and it'll be 10, 11 o'clock. I'm like, oh, the day's over. It's like, not really, man. It's like, it's kind of just getting started for a lot of people. You may think it's over, but it's not.
The amount of time that is wasted in a day, like you could literally have a whole separate career.
Yeah.
You know, like most people, and I see this a lot, they're done with work by the time it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, and then between 3 and 9 that you go to bed, there's so much time to do so much. Now, look, I get it, man. Most people have families and stuff, and you got sporting events and things like that, or school, shopping. You know, you have responsibilities. You have things that you got to do. And there's a way, I think, to manage that. And a lot of the times when somebody tells me they just don't have the time for it, I'm like, look, if the CEO of Target can make it to the gym every single day, I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if the CEO of Target goes to the gym at all. I don't even know who
Find out what the CEO of Target looks like. I'm going to tell you right now if they go to the gym or not.
You can tell just from a picture for sure. But there are people, I think, that have very, very busy schedules. Maybe not going to the gym.
Brian Cornell.
Is that who the CEO of Target
My
is?
man's got a little bit of a turkey neck.
Yeah.
He might go.
That's tough.
He might go.
Maybe Pilates.
He looks okay. He looks all right.
Maybe he goes to a couple of mobility classes a week.
Yeah, he looks all right. He's not bad.
He's doing good.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Good, yeah.
They might have photoshopped him.
You know what? I bet you he's a runner.
I mean, look here. He's like dashing for the deals.
There he is. Look, he's not busy enough to take that
There you
picture.
go. Dashing for the deals.
The CEO of Target.
CEO of Target. Shout out to, what's his name?
Something.
Brian Cornell. Cornell. Yeah. Brian Cornell. Come through, man. Come hang out with us.
Come through, man.
Come through. Bring some deals.
Let's talk fitness. These, by the way, are delicious.
Yeah, shouts to Rain. I appreciate them. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate that berry grape.
That one grape that I had.
One snuck in the back of.
Yeah, you really hated every other flavor. I couldn't land the ship for you.
I never hate, but I've always kind of just something about the flavor profile of tropical fruits, like pineapples, mangoes, like that sort of thing, just never appeal to me.
Okay.
I don't know why.
And you don't like oranges?
I mean, I like all those fruits, like the actual fruits. I love a mango.
Because this one tastes exactly like
I believe you.
rainbow sherbet.
But there's just something about drinking an entire drink of that flavor.
Rainbow sherbet, that just doesn't do it for you.
Doesn't do it for me.
Uh.
I can't. Rainbow sherbet, yeah.
I'm
not what is sherbet anyway? Is that like sorbet but with cream?
Yeah, it's like a sorbet, I think.
Don't look it up. I'm not that interested.
I need to look it up because I want to know now.
Oh my God.
What is sherbet classified as?
We have to get you a young Jamie for sure. You need it.
I need it. We're gonna get there. Yeah, sherbet and sorbet are both frozen desserts. There you go.
But I think one is like cream based or has dairy, and the other one doesn't.
Sherbet is a frozen dessert made with fruit juice or pureed fruit, water, and dairy ingredients such as milk or heavy cream. So there you go.
That's the difference then.
Boom.
Cool.
That was the chef in you. You started going, what's the flavor profile of a sherbet?
Well, look, I've never been a chef. I've always been a front of the house guy. You know, seeing how, you know, my dad was a chef for many, many years, and
it's in your blood.
It's tough. It's a tough living. You know, I wanted to be the one that was like in front, the one that gets all the glory with none of the pain. You know? I jumped behind the bar the second that I was old enough to kind of be in the restaurant business. My first gig, you know, as a bartender was at. You ever heard of Mustang Sally's on 7th Avenue in the city, right by FIT?
I feel like I have, but I might not. I might be making that up like, mentally. I feel like I've heard the name, but maybe I'm just hearing two names together that just sound somewhat similar.
Because you know the song from back in the day.
Maybe.
These Irish guys from like Yonkers opened up their first bar in the city. They had a place called, I think, Aces and Eights out in Yonkers for a while. And they opened up this bar called Mustang Sally's on 7th Avenue. And I was like, I don't know, probably 17 at the time. I was living alone already in the city. My parents had moved out to Queens, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And when I got the job, you can bartend when you're 18 in New York, but you can't drink until you're 21. Right? That's just the way the rules are, which is really strange. But the opening night, one of their bartenders just didn't show up, and they were very busy. It was opening night. It was huge. And they were like, hey, you're 18, right? And I was like, absolutely. and they were like, all right, you're behind the bar, right? And they showed me a couple little things, you know. And back then, it was not like the cocktail culture.
Yeah,
that
it wasn't
we have
the
now.
crazy shit that they're asking you for.
No. It was vodka sodas, vodka cranberries, like that sort of thing, gin and tonics, like super simple stuff. And mostly, obviously, it was like a lot of tap beer. I could do that. So I jumped behind the bar with them and I worked a whole night bartending. And this was back in the day, like cash was king, right? Nobody paid with credit cards back then. And I was stepping on money. Like, remember those old, like, fold out Budweiser cases?
Yeah.
We had like a ton of those underneath the bar, and we just kept throwing money underneath it. And we were cleaning off the bar at the end of the night, and underneath the ashtrays were like stuck $20 bills, $50 bills. Because, you know, back in the day, you used to just put your money on the bar
And just walk away.
and you'd walk away. Nobody would mess with it, right? But every time you ordered, the bartender would just take money from that pile and then put your change back. And whatever usually was left over is what you got as a tip. And usually that was a lot of money because people would get drunk and just leave their money there. And after my very first night of bartending, I walked away. I think it was like $1,400 in cash.
Damn.
And I was stuck.
That was it. You were hooked. You were like, fuck.
This is it. And that's how I basically got myself like through like the next 10 years of my life. You know what I mean? Like all the way through college, and then obviously as
Right
a
into
career.
personal training. Coming up afterwards. Right into personal training.
Well, the one lesson that I did learn from that, especially with personal training, was just my ability to be able to relate, you know, with people. And then obviously, like I said earlier, just connecting people through an experiential like thing, right? Like taking people through an experience, which is very similar to restaurants, right? Everything is kind of like this nice little story that has a beginning and has an end, you know? And even with my clients too, like I tell them all the time, there's going to come to a point, if I do my job right, there's going to be a point where you don't need me anymore. And I look forward to that point, right? We shouldn't spend our whole lives together, right? I want you to get comfortable with the barbell. I want you to get comfortable with these movements and to a point where it becomes your lifestyle and it's how you want to do it. It's one of the reasons why, and I know there's a lot of, not controversy, but I know that there's a lot of like going back and forth now with the idea of hybrid fitness. I love it for what it means to me. And if we're just going to break that down.
I was going to say, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, what it means to me is not even an equal amount, but a good amount on both sides of endurance training, right? And that can be cycling, it could be swimming, it could be running, and strength training. And I love both those things in a very functional way done together, and which is why when I decided to train, you know, and take Hyrox seriously as an event, as a race, I loved training with Taylor and I love training with Charlie. I don't know if you met Charlie Maldonado.
I have, yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys like that, they speak to me, you know, in that sense. It's a very relatable kind of experience. And we love pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves. And I like surrounding myself with that sort of style. I like to feel like I got a good workout in. Don't get me wrong. I grew up very, like, I wasn't a bodybuilder, but that's the kind of style of training that I did because that's the style of training everybody was doing.
Yeah, that's the one that everyone was associating
Right.
with. Arnold and the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
When you thought of working out, you thought bodybuilding.
You didn't think hitting the ski erg or
No.
there wasn't even one.
No. You definitely didn't think of things like that. You definitely didn't think of things like CrossFit until CrossFit came out. You know, and I watched it kind of come up. And that's the feeling that I have with Hyrox right now. It has that same feeling like when CrossFit hit the market, you know, where some people couldn't wrap their head around it, couldn't really understand, well, what is it? It's like working out, but it's not. Wait, it is working out? You can do that and build muscle at the same time. And so I think it has to go through a couple of cycles for people to really kind of like get it. But the difference there is that Hyrox started out as an event. It's a race. I can never see it. It would be very difficult to turn that into a modality. The modality is hybrid fitness. The race is Hyrox, right? The modality for UFC is MMA. The sport, right, is UFC, right? Or the event is UFC. The sport is MMA. And that could be like this, you know, the difference for everybody. Every school of training is going to be different. Like I said, I would love to see eventually, you know, like a Tom DeGooley, you know, group of, yeah, I hope I'm saying his name right, by the way.
DeJulie.
Is it DeJulie?
DeJulie, yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Like a Tom DeJulie where, you know, he's training people with that modality, but he's creating fitness. He's creating a way to get stronger and to create endurance as well, just because...
He's also a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He's also a bad motherfucker on the mats.
Well, the way that he trains, actually, I think is very suitable for Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, I bought a bunch of stuff during COVID for the garage. And it's at my mom's house. It's not, you know, at my apartment because I don't have anywhere for it here. But when I buy a house eventually, that's what I want to set my garage up for. I want to set it up as like a little gym. But one of the things that I really love and I want to do is the sandbag training and the Bulgarian bags that I used to do with Tom. The sandbag training translates so well to jiu-jitsu, having to, scoop and clean and over the shoulder type movements with a heavy sandbag. That translates to having to pick up and double shoot a person.
A lot of the explosivity and like landmine training as well, and kettlebell, flows and stuff like that. All of it, moving the body in ways where it's not so linear. We were always taught when we were bodybuilding, just this very linear kind of like, thing where the spine wants to move in so many different ways, and you really have to train it to do that. And also testing your core through different ranges of motion is never going to be unimportant, right? Like it's always going to be important to train the core in different ranges of motion because life ain't linear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at the drop of a dime, you may need to, react in a certain way with your body. Your body should be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And that kind of style, I think definitely, speaks to it. But again, there's so many different modalities, and I'm seeing a lot of these people, and they're all creating little teams. And then when they show up to the Hyrox events, it's easy to kind of like, tell them apart. I mean, obviously with OG, especially since there's so many people that are doing it, and we're definitely the loudest in the room. There's nothing about it at all.
Where are the bad dudes from? Like, where are the bad groups from? Like the really good ones. Where are you guys finding?
I think that remains to be seen just yet because all of this is kind of just starting right now. But I think it's the communities like OG that are taking it seriously. Training Lab in the city that also has a very unique way of creating savages. Alpha Fit Club out in New Jersey as well. I'm speaking in my region very specifically.
The Northeast type situation.
Which is out in New Jersey. They also have the Garage Gym out there, which is great. Concept Fitness here on Long Island as well.
Where's that?
Concept Fitness is in, I guess, Oceanside.
Okay.
Yeah, just right by like the water and stuff. And they have some really great classes, a lot of rowing. They train a lot of people on rowers and stuff. I think they actually are right on the water, so they do like a lot of like rowing training for teams, which is kind of cool. I haven't been yet myself. I'm looking forward to actually meeting those guys.
Let me know. I'll go down and do a class with you.
It would be fun. They do like a small group kind of like training as well, which is kind of fun. And I did one just this past week at a place called Beach Fit in Long Island, which is actually a TRX gym. And everything that they have in there is all TRX, from their med balls to the TRX straps and everything. And they do like a nice little like circuit, nothing too crazy. It's not like, don't expect like heavy barbell work or things like back squatting and stuff like that. Like you're not going to get that there. But if I were to suggest a place for a runner that wanted to focus on some strength training, right? Because as a runner, you don't need to create too much hypertrophy, right? You don't need to build that much muscle. You need to make sure that your muscular system is strong enough to support your skeletal system, right? And so that you can prevent injury.
Pretty important.
Exactly, right. If you want to stand up straight, not be a big bag of bones, right? So I would definitely recommend a place like that, which is really cool. And they just did a little mini Hyrox event at their spot. And I love doing, events like that get the crowd, just riled up. But we had a bunch of people from OG that showed up to that event, and there was 6 medals, right? 3 first place medals for the men and 3 first place medals for the women. And those medals all went to OG people.
Nice.
And
is that the one that, oh my God, Amanda, she went?
Amanda did not go to that one. No.
Which is the one that she went to? She went to one, like a Hyrox light event or some shit like that.
A training lab in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, and they all did that. That one was called Stairway to Hyrox. And they do that because, I don't know if you're familiar, and I actually just became familiar with it myself, but a lot of the gyms in Manhattan are not ground level like on the floor. They're actually like on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors of these buildings. And
I thought most of the bodybuilding gyms that I know in the city are in the basements.
I could see that.
Yeah, because this way they don't have to hear the people deadlifting, I guess, above them.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But they're moving on up, I guess. But they're definitely not on the ground level, But they either
no one puts baby in the basement.
They either have really patient, neighbors downstairs. They've created some sort of like a system where, that people don't hear it. But yeah, they're running these amazing like group classes. The Strength Club is another one too. They're right there. Now, to get back to your original question though, like who's the baddest? That kind of remains to be seen. Now look, there's an Elite 15.
And how long has it been going on for now?
2017 was when the company started, and the guy from Germany who started it, the founder, Christian, he used to be involved with like triathlons and bigger events like that, marathons, where he would design the courses for things like that. And he saw a gap in the market for a fitness race that was hybrid fitness. 2019 was when it hit the U.S. and they did a New York one back then in 2019, and then obviously the pandemic hit and everything got locked down, so they didn't resurface, in the U.S. especially until 2021.
Okay.
Right. So between 2021 and now, it's grown substantially. For example, like I think the very first New York event back in 2019 was probably somewhere around 1,000 people. The second one was 2,500. I can definitely see this one that's coming up in June, for New York especially.
So the next one is in June for New York. I know Chicago is this coming month.
Chicago is coming up next week.
Next week.
Next week in Chicago, yeah.
And who's competing in that one that you know of?
Well, first of all, it's going to be there's an elite competition for that one, because it's definitely one of the events that gets you to the World Championships.
And
so
those are in Birmingham.
Qualifying race. Not always. No, they change them all the time. Last year it was in Manchester in the UK, and we actually had a few people from here, from AG, that went to it. Including Taylor, which was really, really awesome. And they got in very last minute. They went to the very last event in the U.S., which was Miami. And that was like one of their outdoor events. That was really cool. But I mean, it wasn't cool for them because they had to run in the sand. But it was cool as a spectator to kind of watch that online, because I didn't go down there with them. But they all got in at that event and were able to go to the World Championships. And I think, being able to see competition on that level, because it was like the best of the best that went to that, I think was a switch.
Yeah.
The same switch that most people have, I think, when they finish a race that's as challenging as Hyrox. It opens a door to another level of fitness that you never knew you had or you could do.
It's that extra channel in your brain that unlocks the next competitiveness.
It changes everything. It changes everything. And it's the same thing with, completing a 26.2 mile run, like a marathon, or if the biggest challenge you've ever had is like a 5K or a 10K, whatever that is, that opens up that door and says, oh, wait, I've never hit 100% capacity, right? I'm usually at around 40 to 45%, which is what most people, are, in their fitness levels that think they might have gotten that route. Well, try a triathlon. What's the next step? Try Hyrox. Try any, fitness event that you want to try, even an obstacle course if that's what you're into. But I think those are a little bit more fun for like groups of people that want to. I don't know. Obstacle course racing for me has always been kind of like the bachelorette party of fitness events.
No interest. I've seen them, like we said before. No interest. Mm-hmm. Just always kind of like, nah. I
don't know why.
Not for me.
Yeah. And that just could be me. I've never done one, so I'm not gonna try and shit on something that I've never.
Yeah, I'm not hating, but I'm also not interested.
Yeah, exactly. It never drew me to it. Whereas Hyrox, the second that I saw it, I was sold. I was like, I have to try this. This is going to be a new way to be able to engage with my clients. I think they can all do it and they should all get behind it. Still very hard to get them to commit, but it doesn't mean I stop trying every single day. And the more I talk about it, and the more I kind of get the word out about it, I think that the interest is just going to grow from there.
Yeah. And what should somebody know going into it? Like, what's one of the biggest challenges? Not just physically.
If I were to tell anyone who's just starting to get into any kind of like hybrid fitness, is be patient. Be patient, because unless you come from a running background and you have a good running base already, you're going to have to build that up. Can I teach somebody how to push heavy sleds and how to, progress in a squat build or progress in a bench or anything like that? For the most part, I can get somebody to do that in a matter of 12 weeks. You can see some really big progress in that time. With running, it's a lot longer, right? To build a good cardio engine, you need to be running for years, and you can get good in a small amount of time, or better at the very least. But to be able to compete at that level, if competing on that level is what you're interested in,
you want to do.
Some people just want to do it just for kicks, community, something to kind of like get behind at their fitness level, and that's okay too. That's great. But if you want to compete on a higher level, the running is the most important thing, right? There's because running is such a big part of the race, right? Half of the race is running, right? There's 16 workouts, 16 exercises, 8 of them are running.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that your cardio is really, really good. And that, honestly, patience in that as well, because to become a faster runner, you have to run slow. And that's the part I think that people kind of miscommunicate in their mind when they think, oh, I got to run fast, go out there and just sprint all the time.
Yeah, it takes time.
It takes time.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I tell people all the time, like 80% of your running has to be zone 2, which is basically like conversational pace, is what I would tell somebody who's just kind of starting out. And mix in a little bit of like interval sprints and things like that throughout the week to kind of like do it. But that's maybe 20% of what you're doing. 80% of your running should be conversational pace, without a doubt. And then obviously compromised running. Training compromised running is crucial because, like I said earlier, you don't want to be shocked the day of the event as to how your legs are going to react after doing like pushing a sled for 50 yards, right? 50 meters with, you know, especially on the turf that Hyrox uses, which makes 350 pounds feel like 6,000 pounds.
Yeah, it's gripping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the equivalent of telling you to do, you know, 100, you know, squats at 225 and then run.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Yeah, some of the stuff that we've done at OG where it's more so having to do something squat based and this and that, and then get on the assault runner. It's like, oh God, my legs just feel like shit, man.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, it's just a short run. It's only 5 minutes, let's say. It's like, oh, dude.
Yeah. And
my legs just weighing me down. They feel like 1,000 pounds.
Yep. And that's the feeling that you're going to have on race day, and you want to be prepared for that. So as much as you can do that. So whether that's like do 50 wall balls and then run, you know, do 100 alternating walking lunges and run, you know, do 50 burpee broad jumps and run. You know, so you want to be able to mix as much of that as possible into your training, so that you make sure that come race day, it's not a shock to the system on the legs.
Yeah.
You know, like you can compete on that level.
I've found that when I do jiu-jitsu now with some of the newer guys, I would go balls to the wall right out the gate, burning through my energy, burning through it, and then just like muscling and going like crazy and just like trying to outpower.
How was your cardio before you started?
All that, not good.
No.
I mean, I was a bodybuilder. I never really did it unless I was getting ready for a show. So,
and that was usually incline walking on a treadmill.
I was mostly Stairmaster.
Okay,
stairs.
yeah, Stairmaster too, for sure.
Stairmasters for an hour. 120 steps a minute for an hour. Fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked.
But never really going above like your
120 steps. 120 steps a minute was fast. The issue is my coach wanted a guy that was on gear. He wanted a guy that was on steroids. I was not.
Right.
So I made up for things by doing a little extra. So, you know, where he said keep the level at like 80, 90, you know, on the scale, I would go to like level 120. And that would be 120 steps a minute.
Yeah.
On the Stairmaster, which is pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick.
But
for an hour straight is brutal.
Well, it depends. Like if you're going to come out of that aerobic zone of zone 2 and go into like an anaerobic, you know, zone, you're working a different energy system. You know, not one is wrong and one is right. It's just a different energy system.
Yeah, but it wasn't one that benefited me in the long run for cardiovascular health.
Yeah, you want
now with the grappling,
slow it down,
yeah,
keep that heart rate down.
So like there was a drill that we did last week. I don't know what we're gonna do tonight at jiu-jitsu. I have a buddy of mine from Bev's coming. We're gonna drill together, and then I'll roll.
Their first time?
Yeah, first time ever doing jiu-jitsu.
Oh wow!
So he's gonna come. So I'll drill with him, and basically like last week. Was it last week? Yeah, last Friday, there was a class that I went to, and it was the person on the bottom. I got into mount. The person on the bottom has to get me off of them.
Oh, wow.
And he's a smaller kid than me. And so I locked in, and I was talking to him. I was basing out both sides. Every time he tried to throw me one way, you grab his head, and you walk your arm back in, and then you rebase out. So I'm constantly
how much of that is actually taught through a teacher at the classic, through an instructor, and how much of that is intuitive?
Both.
It's both.
Both.
So kind of like an equal.
You know, because I would never have thought to use their head as a guard. I would have never have thought like if they throw you over, you're gonna base. So you're gonna grab.
Right.
But like using their head to stop your left arm, let's say if you're getting thrown this side.
Kind of like a control the head.
Yeah, to then walk your arm back in and then go, and then they throw you the other side and grabbing the right side of their head and then walking yourself back in and going out and basing. And you know, the other thing that you want to take space away. So, you know, intuitively, you're not going to. Intuitively, you're going to want to like stay upright, or you're going to want to push off of this person or this and that. No, you want to get close to them.
Yeah.
If I'm close, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like when I'm on mount or when I'm in side control, something like that, I have them pulled all the way into me. So this way they can't move. And I'm not just staying on, let's say I have the person like this, they're laying on their back.
Right on.
I'm in side control. I'm not just like on my knees on top of this person. No. My chest is chest to chest with them.
Throwing all of your weight.
My weight is on them. I have to stay heavy.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they'll just buck out and they'll roll out or they'll roll
like
into
wrestling
me.
you have to like kind of like
constant
flatten out
pressure.
on top of somebody.
Constant pressure.
And changing positions.
Yeah.
Too.
So the kid was on bottom, and we're working it for like probably about a minute, and I just told him, I said, "You're burning yourself out, bro." I'm like, "You are." Take your time. I'm talking him through it.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not a dick when I roll. There are guys that are assholes. Like there was a new kid that I really did not like what he was doing. I'll tell you about that in a second. But anyway, so he's going like this. He's like, okay. And I said, bro, push my knee out. Like push my knee out and then try to scrape across with your other leg to then get on your side. I said, but don't roll over too much. I said, keep your butt basically planted.
Then you can take their back.
Yeah, I said keep your butt planted, but roll that side out. So this way you can start working the arm and this and that. I said,
all of my jiu-jitsu education comes from either watching the fights, listening to the commentators,
we got to get you to come,
or watching. I'll tell you something in a second. It might prevent me from being able to, but we'll see. Who knows? Or watching Fight Companion on Rogan.
Yeah, we got to have you come through.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a C5, C6 situation going on right now where like I have a pinched nerve due to a bulging disc that's completely atrophied in my right arm.
Okay.
Like to the point where like I can curl a 40-pound dumbbell for reps in this hand. I can barely do that with a 10-pound dumbbell.
So there's a kid, Andy, in my class who was born with a birth defect.
I knew you were gonna go there.
Yeah,
I fucking knew you were gonna give it to me.
and he has a bad arm.
Yeah,
he has a bad arm.
Yeah,
Now, don't get me wrong.
I thought you were gonna go with like he only has one arm.
No. He's got less strength in that arm.
Yeah.
And I'm not a dick though. So like sometimes if I see that that's the arm, I'll be like, yo, are you good? Do you want me to continue? He'll be like, no, keep going. I go, okay, just making sure. Like I don't want you to think that I'm taking advantage of that specific side.
Okay.
That's my big thing. My big thing is, so come through, dude, whenever.
Dude, I'll definitely take you up on
So
that.
I've
I've been thinking about it a lot.
I ask people every time before we start rolling. I ask people, I go, hey, what's sore on you? Is there anything I need to know about? Because if there is, I want to make sure that I'm consciously looking for that and not touching it. Like if they say my
As opposed to most other guys who would probably
who would go
try to
for it.
find
But
the
you know what?
weakness.
We're practicing.
Yeah.
We're not a tournament.
Not everyone's like that, man.
Yeah, they're not. So like this new kid. There's a lot of new kids. They don't know that they've either never done this type of stuff, which I never do this type of stuff, but they don't have the respect factor linked into it.
Right.
And so they really do act like it's a dog-eat-dog battle. And it's like, bro, you have to know who you're going against. Are you going against a D1 wrestler? Then go in. Go in, bro, because they're not going to give you any space to chill. Are you going against the older guy that's just trying to learn a martial art and chill a little bit and just get some physical activity in?
Yeah.
There's a difference. So this young kid, he's like probably like 19, 20. And I really didn't like what I was watching. My leg has been shot for a few. My left knee, it might be a hamstring injury. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. But every time I bend my knee all the way in, I get a pain in the back of my, not even in the knee area. It's like the back of the hamstring / side.
Could be bursitis.
It could be. Yeah. Basically what happened was I got taken down at class. It was the mixed class in no-gi. Wrestler, super dope wrestler guy. And we were going back and forth, and every time he clinched me up, I'd like slip out and I'd counter, and he'd get me back and this and that. And he just got tired of like going back and forth with me for a while. So he double shot the legs, and he took me down very hard, which was fine.
But he hyperextended the knee.
He hyperextended. What happened was it smashed against the mat as I hit my back on the mat. It smashed perfectly bent, and foot was perfectly flush to the mat. Oh wow! And my foot went and like banged off of the mat, and instantly I went, "Oh, what was that?" Wasn't a knee problem. Couldn't understand what was injured.
You didn't have to stop.
No, I kept going.
Yeah.
But I stayed on my, like, I didn't want to push off of it because I didn't know what was injured. I knew something was injured. Ever since then, I can run, I can do things.
That wasn't with this kid that you were just talking about.
No. I can grapple, I can do all that. But if the knee comes all the way in, it starts to pinch now. So I don't know if, and I couldn't extend it all the way out. That was my problem. So I might have hyperextended it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was
You've
watching.
never gotten an MRI for it or anything.
No,
Of course not. Well,
of course not, because I don't want to know what it is.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to not have a problem.
Yeah, I don't want to know what it
Find
is,
out
because if
there's a
it's something that's bad and I have to really stop training, I'm just not going to listen. So I'd rather just like milk it, and I don't roll hard, or I roll with people I trust. Mm-hmm. So like now, because I'm not 100%,
You have that option in an open class, though?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I know the guys that are not going to be assholes. I'm like, yo, I'll go to them. I'll be like, yo, we good to roll? They'll be like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, long story short, there's this older dude. He's a nurse, super dope guy, a little out of shape, but he's getting into shape. He's tough roller when he really puts his all into it. Mm-hmm. And then there's a new kid, and the new kid had to pass his guard, so he wrapped his legs around him. They were going. And what the new kid was doing wasn't wrong, but it was like, you don't do that. Just like, chill out, bro. Yeah. So I'm watching, because I'm not rolling live with people I don't trust. So I'm watching the side, and the kid is standing up while the older cat is on his back, and he's got his legs wrapped around him still, and he's grabbing the older guy's gi from the top like this, and he's not trying to do a choke or anything like that. He's pushing his fist into the dude's neck while he's on the ground.
Yo, new kid, respect your elders.
That, and I'll tell you what, man, that shit fires me up, because it's like, oh, so you want to roll hard. I'm not, listen.
That's got to be an experience, right? That he's doing that.
I guess because he doesn't know what else to do, but at the same time, it's like you're pushing your fist in someone's throat, bro. That's not what happens in this class. Like you need to relax a little bit. Now I'm a white belt.
That's also not jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. Like I'm a white belt. I don't know a lot. I still, people look to me because I have some knowledge now.
Well, if he tried that with a really experienced person,
with a really experienced person, they would go fucking nuts. They would roll dirty with him. Like just give him a couple of like dirty jabs, like just to show him what it's like. Like chill out, bro.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Like they test with the higher belts, and the higher belts aren't mean, but they'll put you right back in your place. So
instantly.
So I'm watching that, and he was holding on. The older cat was holding on for a while, and then after the kid walks away, he passed his guard, and he looks at me, and I just went to him. I gave him a high five, like I picked him up. I said, yo, I just want you to know, like once this knee's better, I said I'll roll with him, and I'll let him know what really not nice rolling is, like that. And then when he's done, I'll be like, yo, just so you know, like I was rough with you because you were like that with him that time. Don't do that shit.
You don't need to do.
Yeah, don't do that shit. Be respectful. Yeah. Like it's not that serious, dude. You're not an ADCC. We're not doing a tournament right now. Yeah. This is just practice. I had this kid Sean, who I actually became friends with afterwards. I yelled at him in the class. We were doing guard pass again. I was supposed to pass his guard. Now I'm trying to pass his guard. Super good wrestler, like just very good wrestler, strong kid, really talented. And as I'm trying to pass his guard, all of a sudden he locks my leg. He's sitting down and I'm standing up. He locks into my leg, and I look at him and I go, "What are you doing?" And he leans into my MCL, and it starts to fucking kill. So I like tap him on the head like this. I go, yo, bro. I go, we don't do leg locks in the white belt class.
Right.
He's like, oh, well, it's a single leg lock. No, you're not listening. I go, we don't do that shit in the white belt class. I go, you could do that in the mixed class. I go,
How do you learn that? How do you find out about that? Like, does somebody say, hey, we don't do leg locks?
Either they say that, or that you just injure somebody or something. Like you don't, leg stuff they don't teach you in the white belt class. So that's why I didn't even think that he was going to grab my leg like that. But when he did, and then my MCL was sore for weeks. So it's like,
and you've already had it.
I told him that, like I said, I walked away and I was heated for a second. I didn't let it get the best of me, but I went, yo, bro, I said, if you do that to my leg again, we're going to have a fucking problem. I go, don't do that shit to me ever again. Yeah. Like, I'm just letting you know.
I love that you smacked him in the head.
I know what else to tap. I just went right in the top of his head. Yeah. So then afterwards, like the next day, I said, hey, can I have a conversation with you real quick? I said, I just want you to know. I said, that shit was clean. I said, you were doing it right. Mm-hmm. I said, but let me ask you. I said, you wrestle? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, so you're not a white belt. You're a blue belt.
Right.
You don't, this is not a new world for you. To some extent, the moves, the intricacies of things.
But also, if you go into a class knowing there's a certain amount of things that you have to defend against, and then somebody
starts doing something, you're like, whoa, I don't have to defend leg shit. Like, I had no idea for a second.
I'm not there yet.
Now I do. It's weird because now I'm picking up things. So, like, I roll in town. The dude Mark that owns the spot, Ohm Zengarden, Mark is going to come on the podcast. He's a brown belt out of 10th Planet. Super dope dude, really cool.
10th Planet's really blowing up.
Yeah, they are. They're out in Patchogue, the one out there, but he teaches in Huntington Village too. Mm-hmm. He's got ice baths at the facility. He's got big open mats. He's got infrared sauna.
Where is this?
Right on Main Street.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, right on Main Street. So every now and then he does, well, not every now and then, he has regular classes, but I'll go down there and I'll roll.
Yeah.
And I rolled with him last time, and he got me in an arm move where I was on my back, and I couldn't really, and he started putting the arm down to the floor. And, you know, early on, Nick, back in May, I would just either tap or sit there and just try to wiggle out of it. Now it's like cool because I'm starting to see how I'm absorbing some of the knowledge. I took a backwards roll over him to unhinge my arm from that position, and then we kept going. And I was like, oh, I said,
but it's not something that you just like instinctually know that you can do that.
No, you start to absorb it. You start to see other dudes, how they're getting out of things. You start to getting into situational awareness.
And understand what your body's capable of doing too.
Yeah, and you know, one of the biggest things that I tell a lot of people is that, you know, the first time you have somebody take your back is a very, very creepy, scary moment. Even though you know where you are and, you know, there's no technical danger.
But you can't throw elbows.
Yeah, you can't throw elbows, but just like having somebody fight as they're just very calmly on your back, having somebody fight to slip their fingers in under your chin and start choking you, you're just kind of like, whoa, whoa, as it starts getting tighter, you're just like, but situational. Now you're used to it. So now somebody starts taking my back, I go, keep going, because I'm trying to figure out how to work through it and
repetition
and turn and look at them and pass the knee over their leg and then turn, because if I'm looking at them, they can't choke me. And there's these things that I've learned over the course of my month's training there, and it's just cool to see the progression of things. You know, Matt, I was rolling one night, and Matt's walking by, and he goes, you know, I really want to be able to say Jedi Rizzles one day. I'm like, hey, man, years and years from now, maybe we can do that. That'd be cool.
A long time, right?
And I'm in no rush, man.
Some of these guys that are like the pros, like in the UFC, like the guys that are like winning the big events, like who was recently, who just won and he became a brown belt right on the spot. The coach came and put the brown belt around his neck.
I don't know.
And I was like, that guy's only a brown belt?
Yeah, dude.
Like,
some dudes are very competitive at it. And you know what? There's a lot of gyms that promote quickly, at which I don't love the idea of that. It's like, okay, so you want to have a bunch of brown belts, you want to have a bunch of black belts, but are they actually brown and black belts?
Yeah.
You know, Sarah promotes very slow, which is cool, man. I mean, some people would look at that as like, you want to keep people in your gym longer to keep them paying, whatever it might be. I don't look at it like that. I would rather get these things slow and be able to say like, yo, I'm a real blue belt. I'm a real, like I dogged this shit out for months, years to get to this point. And, you know, then I go to other gyms because when I was in North Carolina, I rolled down there.
I was actually just going to ask you that, man, because I know that there's like a big community of guys that when they travel or they go on vacation, they'll try another school to kind of like to test at that school. And
it's like training at another gym.
Right, but they also welcome you into that environment, but they also don't want you to just be like, hey, I can just come in here and just, you know, roll these guys under the rug or something like that.
I'll tell you what, the dudes at North Carolina, at Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu, they were phenomenal human beings. Super dope, super welcoming. They were just like, yo, come in, this and that. The head guy, the owner, he didn't even charge me. He's like, nah, bro, you're good. I just want you to enjoy yourself and have fun. I go,
yeah, you're here.
I said, hey, listen, let me take some pictures of you guys while I'm here. And I took pictures of them when they were all rolling. And one of the kids, Josh, he's an older guy. One of the dudes, Josh, is the one that won Ultimate Fighter. And he had a fight a couple months later. He won his fight.
Oh, you mean the one that's out right now? Like the one that they're...
Yeah, he was training at that gym when I was there.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty cool, man. It was you get to meet some really cool and amazing people.
It's a big community. The first time that I kind of like noticed, you know, jiu-jitsu being a prominent thing for fitness specifically was when I saw the transformation from Anthony Bourdain. You know, because he was just a regular dude who focused mostly on like heroin and cigarettes for years and years and years. Amazing chef. But then I guess somehow through, I think maybe his first wife found jiu-jitsu, because I think she's big in the whole jiu-jitsu game. And when he started rolling, I remember somebody took a picture of him walking down the street somewhere in LA, and he had like his shirt open and he was just ripped.
Yeah.
You know, and like developed muscle. And this is in his 60s.
Yep.
And he didn't weight train.
It's a different kind of fitness, man. When
the resistance training
when you have another human being that you're wrestling off of you, it is a different kind of fitness, and it is awesome. Let me tell you. You feel after I get off the mats and I've done a bunch of rounds, like the competition class on Sundays, when you got the guys that are actually competing at ADCC and all these different IBJJF or IBJF, whatever the letters are.
Right.
You get those guys that are like really hitting it. You go against some bad motherfuckers. So you just you're drenched. I mean, you're fighting for your life on these mats sometimes. Yeah. And it sounds more dramatic than it might actually be. But when you're in that situation, you go, oh, now I understand.
Yeah. Everybody starts at white, right?
Everyone starts at white. Yeah. Everyone starts at white belt. It's just a matter of how quickly you get promoted. So after 4 stripes on your white belt, you can go to the other side and you can go to the advanced class. But it's weird because like I go to the mixed class, so it's basically the advanced class.
Oh, okay, because some of those guys are in there too.
Yeah, so I go against the brown belts, the black belts, the blue belts.
And sometimes, what are they doing? They just rolling with you because they kind of just want the repetition. They want to kind of
a lot of times, John Danaher, Gordon's coach,
Yeah.
he talks about how important it is to roll against lower belts before a competition. He says that actually helps your game more than you going against all the high belts every single time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got a lot of value, especially from somebody who doesn't believe in stopping.
Yeah, I mean,
He train every day.
every day. I mean, he is like the godfather of just jiu-jitsu and that stuff. And it's so cool to see. I mean, the Gracies, you think of actual godfather, but John is just he's special, man.
There's something different when
He's so calm
somebody
about
as
everything.
smart as him kind of attaches themselves to a passion. It becomes this thing that they're obsessed with. Everything
Yeah.
that they do. I can't. I got to look at like the stuff that he writes down, like his programming. Is probably like a mad scientist, so you probably wouldn't even understand the majority of it. But when it all comes together, as far as like the training is concerned, we see what the result of that is.
Yeah.
Right. Because Gordon Ryan is what, the best of the best.
Monster, dude.
There's no one better than him, really. Not in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, his
right?
brother Nicky is really good. I forget what they call. A bunch of guys broke off from John's gym and they went into like an underdog gym. They call themselves like second team or something like that, or the B team. That's what they call themselves, B team, because they were never as good as Gordon. So
gotcha.
they all do compete under the B team now.
Okay.
So it's like a weird kind of dynamic. And Gordon was out for a little while because he had some intestinal issues and stomach issues that he was having.
Saw that, man.
Yeah,
He
so
was
now
off
he
the
came
gear.
he off the gear, and now he's back on though. Now he got big again.
Yeah, he did quickly.
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly.
But yeah, it's cool. We got to get you down. We got to get you to come down.
I definitely want to try it. There's no doubt about it at all. I'm not gonna, ask the orthopedic doctor if there's any concern, because there's concern, obviously.
I have L5S1 herniations.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, truth be told, the way that I strengthened them up and I fixed it was with sumo deadlifts over the years.
Yeah, I can see that.
Strengthening the lower posterior chain,
see that.
lower back, lumbar, everything like that, and just like the pain went away.
Reverse hypers and stuff.
Bro, I used to have radiating pain down both legs and that was at 19 years old.
Knock on wood, man. I've never had that, and with the exception of like this, because it wasn't even an injury. I woke up and I just kind of had like a stiff neck and a stiff shoulder, and it just started to like grow, and naturally that the pain went away, but the weakness started to develop.
Gotcha.
And I just kind of started to like lose, like they're different sizes. My arms are two completely different sizes.
Yeah.
And that's the most frustrating part. I'd almost rather the pain. I can manage pain,
Yeah.
at least in my head, but it makes programming for myself, as far as my training is concerned, tricky, because I don't want to use two different weights,
Yeah.
but sometimes I have to.
Yeah, you gotta take the situation and just do what you can out of it.
I'm starting. My wife actually just recently, because she came off of a partial knee replacement that she did,
Yeah.
so she got some BFR, and I think I'm going to start using that BFR for my right arm.
What's the BFR?
The blood flow restriction.
Oh, occlusion.
Yeah,
Occlusion
yeah.
training.
So just like it's a cuff, right? And it's all digital. You put the machine on and you leave it on for a little bit, and it kind of like
Yep, and then you take it off, and the blood rushes in. It's supposed to push more regenerative natures back in,
It
and
kind of goes into like a complete restriction, almost like 100%, and then it backs off depending on the size. It actually will take a measurement of it, while it's doing it in a digital sense, and then it'll basically go to, I think it's like 60%, right? And you can literally take a 5-pound dumbbell.
it feels like a 9,000-pound dumbbell.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Like each rep just feels like your biceps about to explode.
I got to get you to my boys to do some PT work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott and Dr. Nick would be phenomenal. Derlin's a great chiropractor. There's a lot
They're
of
out
people.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Scott's Long Island stretch. He's actually coming on the show Wednesday.
Oh, cool.
Nick, who just finished his doctorate and finished schooling and his clinicals, he now works for Scott.
They're out here?
Yeah, they're Hicksville.
Oh, okay.
And then Derlin is in Smithtown.
Smithtown.
So Derlin's the chiropractor.
Yeah.
It's a little out east. So it's like 3 towns over.
Okay.
That way.
Yeah.
But we'll get you some appointments. You know,
With GPS, it's all easy to find.
it's
out here.
easy. Yeah, it's comparatively to having to use fucking maps like a treasure hunter.
But I'll definitely roll with you, man. You just got to let me know whenever you go. I don't know.
I do 6:30 every night is the beginner class. So
that's easy for me.
if you come down, whenever you say that you want to come down, I'll make sure that I don't roll midday, or I'll do a double. I've done plenty of doubles, and
I'll let you know.
and then we'll get after it. So in closing, is there anything that you wanted to cover for Hyrox or that people should
The only
know?
thing that I want to say, man, if anybody's watching this and they're interested in what they're hearing or it hit their radar already and they're just kind of like on the fence about it, the easiest thing to do, honestly, is just reach out to me, Constantine, on Instagram, con.stan.teen. Just because I couldn't find. Constantine was already taken.
Bastards.
Yeah, which is weird because I was like the first one. I couldn't even get. My name is Constantine Mouzakitis, and I couldn't even get.
Fire name. Fucking warrior.
I'm still trying to learn how to spell everything. But, it's like I couldn't even get my Gmail account. You know, like it's like I'm like I moved to Long Island. I'm this is not a fucking joke. I'm being dead serious. I moved to Long Island. I went to a CVS locally to pick up a prescription under my name, and the lady, I came up and she was like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I was like, "Constantine Mouzakitis." She literally looked at me and she was just like, "Oh, I saw the prescription come through. I thought it was for this other guy that comes in here." And I was like, "Are you telling me that there's another Constantine Mouzakitis that comes to the CVS?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I'm like,
Fucking imposter.
I haven't met him yet, but I'm like, what are the chance? Like, it's not John Smith.
Yeah, I mean Nick Rizzo. There's a lot of Nick Rizzos.
I can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna change it to Rizzles. I'm just gonna go full blown with the nickname. Just make it my real name.
I mean, the amount of names that everybody probably calls you at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Like Nick, Riz,
Rizzles, Nikki. You know, Nikki before I say it often, before the video work and before the podcast and before
You were always Nicky.
I was always Nick
Yeah.
or Nicholas. Like nobody called me Nicky except my grandmother. So then when Nicky Rizzles came out, like people started calling me Nicky Rizzles. Everyone just thought my name was Nicky, and they all started calling me Nicky. I was like, I'm cool with it.
Bunch of friends who were like called Michael when they were younger. We all used to call him Mikey. And
Yeah.
At a certain point, they were just like, "Can you stop calling?"
No, I don't. Yeah, I understand, but for me, it's just like I don't even give a shit. It's like I'm cool with whatever. Just don't call me the wrong name.
So Constantine on Instagram, con.stan.teen or Constantine@hyrox.com.
Fire. I want to thank you for dropping by. We'll have to do it again
for having me.
because we could talk forever, dude.
Bro, I'd love to come back for sure.
yeah.
We can definitely talk about anything you want to talk about because I'm into it all.
Yeah, we'll do another episode. We'll maybe we fucking do like a Hyrox cast. We could do something at the event at some point. That'd be pretty cool, man.
Listen, now would be great, man. I mean, Hyrox New York is coming back June. You know, so anybody that's thinking about it right now, it's on the fence. They got plenty of time to get the training.
So
in.
much time.
6,
Go
7
hit one of the affiliate gyms. OG. What's the other gyms?
There's a
Oceanside.
bunch, man. You got Beach Fit in LA. You got in Oceanside as well. You got Concept Fitness. And then in the city, we just signed the very first CrossFit affiliate in the world.
Nice.
Which is CrossFit NYC. They just signed on as an affiliate as well, and they're doing some really cool things called Black Box Hyrox that they have going on Saturdays as well. And a ton of other ones, man. That there's so many gyms now that are getting behind the program, and they're realizing that they can engage their communities in a different way and challenge their members in a different way. And Hyrox is getting out there, man. So I know that it's going to hit people's radars eventually.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time and
Just
just
a matter of
getting
time.
in people's faces and whatnot.
Yeah. It's still very, very new, and as a modality, hybrid fitness in general is still. People are still figuring it out.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
got
man.
plenty of time.
Thanks for having me, brother.
No, for real. And on that note, this is episode 73 with my man Constantine.
73.
73, man. We busted
my
through
lucky
these.
numbers right there.
That's it. I love that. and 9 is my mom's lucky number. She was the last episode, and 7 plus 2.
Oh no, that's
There you go. It's weird how that works out.
There's always a way to find out.
Yeah, exactly. So hit my man up. Go train, get your ass in motion, go do your damn thing, and go run, lift, train, and have fun with the community and everybody involved. On that note, please share, like, comment, all the plethora of lists. It helps the algorithm. It helps us get the message out. It helps my man just continue to kill it and do his damn thing, and Hyrox to be on par and continually pressuring CrossFit, because I love when shit comes out and starts pressuring other companies to just continually be better, because it makes everything better.
Holla.
On that note, peace.